Hello, everybody. Providing there's... Snarp's here. So, okay. I was wondering for a second if there was anyone here, but nope, there's Snarp.
Yeah, he's doing the he does that sometimes. Always cracks me up.
Well, we were going to stream last week, but a couple of things happened that prevented us from doing so.
Yeah, he got sickish and I threw my back out, so
Pretty
yeah,
much.
Screw that.
Yeah. So, we're coming back this week with the Wreckers. So, Snarb, maybe you're asking, what's the deal with the Wreckers? But then again, you might know because you already saw the potential list.
Yeah.
Hey, Jay, how's it going?
Hey Jay, what up?
So, yeah, the Wreckers. What are we doing with the Wreckers? We are discussing bosses that we have a personal issue with, pretty much. Some of them are really awesome, but, they all kind of suck.
I think I kept it to just like 2 or 3 fighting game bosses, maybe 4, but I try not to flood them with, although they do tend to be frustrating more often than not, at least back in the 90s when they were allowed to be turbo bullshit. That kind of softened up with the Great Fighter revival of '09, but yeah, if we're talking old school, there's some really nasty ones to describe.
And just keep in mind, Snarb, that doing a boss stream that is nothing but bosses from fighting games, that's not going to fly with me.
Yeah, he definitely would have vetoed it because Rob probably wouldn't have played like 9/10 of the games, so...
Well, maybe not. I'm more tolerant of versus fighters these days, but it doesn't mean I've, studied a good chunk of them.
Yeah, I mean, I could go to some
Right,
obscure ones if you wanted, but I'm not gonna.
Batty's here.
Hey, Batty, what is up?
Yep. So, I don't know if you heard we were talking about, but this is going to be about video game bosses that bug us. Pretty much.
Yeah, I normally am actually very fond of boss fights. They are like a very prominent element of old school video games that I always find enjoyable as in a sort of off the track challenge that mixes up the action from what the rest of the levels are, and I find them interesting. They look cool. They're always really cool set pieces for the most part. And I do value having boss fights around, counter to what, some modern upstart journos would say, wondering, do we even need boss fights anymore? God, that was such shit. Just, anyway.
They need to shut their filthy mouths.
They really do, yes. That being said, they can't all be zingers, as I'm so fond of quoting Primus's greatest hits album. And sometimes there comes along a boss which I maybe don't want to be in the game, or, made easier, or adjusted to be less bullshit, or obnoxious, or less drawn out, or whatever. And that's basically what this is all about. Those bosses are just kind of great in our brain, even if we normally love boss fights. So
Exactly. And keep in mind, some of the bosses we're talking about aren't even really that difficult. They just annoy us for one reason or another.
yeah, it's not always super crushing bosses, just those that they tick us off in some certain way. I can think of a few that annoy more than they frustrate, but annoyance is a type of frustration, kinda. So
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
yeah.
And in some cases, some of them are just really cool, but they suck anyway.
Yeah, they look neat, but like they're like some sort of like weird foreign candy that kind of smells when you crack into it. So
I've had one of those once.
really, you remember the name of it?
I don't, but it was Japanese. It was sent to me as part of a shock box,
Uh-oh.
and there was actually a decent amount of Japanese candy and treats in there. And all of them are really good except this one thing. I hesitate. I really can't remember it all that well, but it was like some kind of almost like a cracker soaked in oil.
Mm.
And it did not taste good.
Ugh, sounds weird.
Very.
That reminds me as a novelty in gift shops back in the day. I don't know if they do this now, but I remember like lollipops that had like insects modeled into them, like actual real dead fucking bugs.
You talking like chocolate covered ants?
Kinda. It's like green apple lollipops with like large ants in them, or maybe spiders or whatever. Cockroaches.
Crickets.
Yeah. Crickets. Yes, that is a popular one. So.
Well, I can tell you, on the other hand, in that shock box, I also got a package of Tetris Puyo Puyo gummies, and those were great.
Oh, nice. That does sound really good, actually. Cute, too.
Yep. And now, Batty has a point here about this whole modern retro boss difficulty.
Hmm. Batty, can you give us an example?
Followed us.
You mentioned Inti Creates, something that they did, like from Gunvolt, or maybe one of the more modern Mega Man games they did, or whatever. Because, like, I don't know, judging boss difficulty can be subjective in some cases, but usually if there's, like, a really, really heinous boss in the game that more people tend to complain about, like, this isn't on our list, but I am a fan of the Dark Souls series, and I know that the Bed of Chaos from the first game is just really poorly designed, and nobody likes it. It's more of a foot race than it is an actual boss, and winning it without dying is incredibly arbitrary. Like, yeah. The 8-bit Bloodstains. There was that one boss in Bloodstain 2, the Egyptian, like, sarcophagus one that was really frustrating. Like, I thought that, I really liked Bloodstain Curse of the Moon 2 otherwise, but I remember that one just being an asswipe. So.
By the way, just a heads up. I did just hear some thunder outside. So,
unfortunately, it's been storming a little bit where I am too, so
so if we suddenly cut out, you'll know why.
yeah, seems like summer's coming motherfucking early this fucking year. I hate it.
Yes.
Hey, Fornea. Yes, we like boss
Fornea.
fights too.
And I see
hey,
Sharon's here too.
Hey there. What's up? Yeah, Snar, pretty much. All right, so we should probably begin the list proper. What did you want to kick off with, perhaps?
Our honorable mentions. They're not bosses, but they do qualify.
Yeah, they suck nonetheless, so.
Yep. So to begin with, honorable mention number 3. The Medusa heads from the Castlevania series.
Yeah.
Those sine wave traveling motherfuckers.
Certainly not bosses, although in most games, Medusa, mostly with a full body, with a couple of exceptions, is a boss, and she's not usually as annoying as her wretched spawn for the most part, which is kind of ironic.
And like later on in Symphony of the Night, when like a yellow one hits you, you turn to stone.
Yeah, the petrification ones, that's just nasty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are manageable, but that's why they came in at number 3.
Yeah. I remember Castlevania 3 on its second loop replaced them with flying skulls instead that flew in a much more arbitrary pattern, and I'm kind of glad the series never brought them back, because that was terrible.
Yeah. Oh, but yeah, they just, if you're not prepared for them, next thing you know, you're getting knocked into a pit.
Yeah, they really did take advantage of the pit architecture with the level designers, so. Woof. Oh, versus Castlevania. And you know what? I should play that one more.
With the dip switches set to hard.
Sounds like a challenge. I'm enough of a Castlevania master. I think I should check it out. Jared, we didn't get to those yet.
No. We just started with our honorable mentions.
Yeah, 3 to 2 to 1.
Yes.
Why don't you mention number 2 then?
Oh, number 2. I'd like to pen an open letter to Tecmo. Those fucking birds.
From Ninja Gaiden.
You know the ones I'm talking about.
Yep.
Those suck.
Fun fact, the birds in at least the first Ninja Gaiden actually hurt more than the fucking bullets that the army men type enemies fire. So, that's not right. Unless, like, Ryu has, like, a terrible allergy against talons or something. That's just fucking weird.
Mm-hmm. All I know is apparently Jakio has bred special ninja-seeking eagles and falcons and whatever.
With, like, titanium talons or whatever, like,
Uh-huh.
military grade. Fucking shred your face off in a single clutch.
And the ones where if you move backwards just a fraction of an inch and you go forward, they're back.
Yeah, as per the first two games, weird spawn laws.
The the talons are septic. I believe that.
That too, they could also be poison. Ninja poison.
Yep. And yeah, would you rather take a bullet or an infectious claw? I guess that depends on where you get hit.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't want to get hit in, like, the eyeball by a bullet or whatever, but I guess I don't want my eye plucked out either, so I don't know what to tell you on that one.
Either way, they're both really bad.
Yep.
All right. So just to move on to honorable mention number 1. Okay, that is true, Snarb.
Yeah, that's fair then.
Honorable mention number 1, the most deadly enemy in any video game ever. Goomba number 1 in Super Mario Brothers.
Everyone died to him at least once. You admit it.
That's the one that got me.
Admit it.
Very first time I ever played that game, and I'm no clue what to do, and here's some little mushroom dude walking at me, and what do? Oh, he hit me and I'm dead. Oh, well then.
Do you remember one Easter egg on, I think it was one of the Homestar Halloween specials, where the King of Town dressed as Mario, and then you clicked on him, and then you went into a parody of the Super Mario Brothers, where the KOT's too fat to jump over the first Goomba?
I'm not sure if I actually saw that one or not. If I have, it's been a while.
Oh, my life is a joke.
Yeah, that's the King of Town, all right. Hi, Bruno. Hey, Wolf.
Hey there. Hey, guys.
You want to explain that one, Bruno?
Hey, paisanos!
It's the Super Mario Super Show.
Exactly.
To be fair, I first met Mario when I played the original Donkey Kong in arcades way back when.
Yeah, that is true.
Found him.
Is it?
You want to know where I first played that, actually?
Oh, where at?
In a steakhouse.
Crazy. I mean, I can believe it. Arcade machines used to be in, like, grocery stores and other restaurants back then.
Grocery stores, convenience stores, you name it. But yeah, this was in the back room of a steakhouse.
Cool.
So, let's not bring up the blue one.
The blue one, you say?
Yeah, Bruno. No, we don't talk about the smug blue bastard.
Okay, that's fair. All right, so the bosses proper, though. Where did you want to start on that?
Well, let's spin the wheel and pick one at random. So, yep, that's our wheel.
Spin my puzzle.
All right, what the heck? Let's say we start off with, I don't know. How about Soda Popinski from Mike Tyson's Punch-Out?
Oh, yes. I thought it would have been too easy to put on Mike Tyson because everyone knows he's one of the most terrifying final bosses. Even still to this day, he's certainly not unbeatable, but he will take you many, many tries. If you're trying to do it without using any passwords, you only get one shot at him before you get booted, before it's an absolute game over, and you gotta start over.
Of course, now with a caveat there, if you're playing just Punch-Out, it's Mr. Dream.
That is true, yes. I never actually played that version. Anyway, rather though than list Tyson, we wanted to put down probably the hugest difficulty spike in the game when you get to him, because Arguably, though, Bald Bull at the end of the major circuit's also a big spike, but Popinski, I would argue, is even worse. Like, when he started out the World Circuit, you fight the Piston Honda rematch, and he certainly is trickier, but he does feel manageable. Then Popinski comes in, and he just beats you down with his very oddly timed punches, and he hits like a truck, of course, and like Popinski's actually one of the less gimmicky, I think, boxers, despite his his whole drunken Russian thing and how he was originally Vodka Drunkinsky in the arcade.
I was just about to mention that.
But yeah, no, he is mostly just a very no bullshit fighter. It's just that he seems to be a little more subtle in varying up the timings of his punches, and it is very hard to read him more often than not. And sometimes on a bad day, I even still have trouble overcoming him. So, if not the hardest challenge that the game has to offer, it's probably the one that'll really make or break your chances for success throughout the rest of the world circuit.
In my case, he broke me. Because my punch-out skills have always been adequate at best. And I've made him a couple times, and he has slaughtered me every time.
Yeah, that's understandable. Shinya Arino, the Kacho of Game Center CX, to my knowledge, he has never beaten him, and he's tried Punch-Out like 3 or 4 times, sometimes live, and I'm not sure if he's ever cleared the Popinski hurdle. So...
yeah, well, he sucks. So,
that Russian bastard and his pink-toned frickin' muscles and his stupid, cone head, bloody asshole jerk. He's also incredibly difficult in the Wii Punch-Out game. Between him and Bald Bull, the World Circuit, especially on the title defense mode, is really hard to get past. And, he will actually drink his quote-unquote soda pop in the middle of the battle, and you have to try and punch it out of his hands, which will piss him off, but the alternative is having him drink it and restore some goddamn life, so... oof.
Yeah. Like I said, he is basically the brick wall I run into every time I get that far.
Yeah, he is... certainly a wall, and the World Circuit doesn't get much easier after that, but yeah, like I said, he's the make or breaker. And yeah, Sharon, Punch-Out game was released on the Wii in 2009. Trying to think. I believe the guys who developed that also actually made Captain America Super Soldier, if I'm not mistaken. Next Level Games, I think it was.
Huh.
And it is a very damn good game. I really had a hell of a lot of fun with it. It was a perfect remake and I think sort of marriage of the sensibilities of all prior Punch-Outs that had come before. I'd say it was 65% the NES game, 35% Super, and it just had a really neat style to it and played really cool. And it even had, spoilers, Donkey Kong in there as a secret boss, and he is fun and very difficult to beat. Better, that's subjective, but I would say it is overall more accessible than the NES version. Hard to say if better, because I do have a lot of nostalgic attachment to good old NES MTPO, but it's very good, whatever the case, I will say. No Sarp, surprisingly, he doesn't use a barrel. He is a somewhat more honorable fighter than Aaron Ryan, at any rate, so...
Well, I've never played that version. I've played the NES game. I played Super Punch-Out, and I think I played Punch-Out once in arcades.
Yeah, I played one of the arcade Punch-Outs live, and of course on MAME I have played and beaten both of them. Somehow beaten, although they get really tough later, and their controls are so stiff compared to the console games. So.
Well. But yeah, in conclusion, Soda Popinski sucks. So.
Yeah. Russian jerk face.
Exactly. All right, let's see what else we got on tap here. You pick one now, Mike.
You're gonna have to give me the list. Sorry. If Shit. I know you posted it at some point, but feel free to like give me the some sort of soundboard while I try and find the goddamn thing.
Oh, hang on a second.
Shit, where was it? God damn it. Sorry, folks. There is one I can remember off the top of my head that I really, 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 really hate, at least, so... there it is. I don't know if I should go with that one first or save it for later.
Your choice.
Thank you. Also, thank you. Let's see. Yeah, no, actually, this isn't the... Hey, shut up. Okay. God damn it. Okay, this isn't the one I was thinking of, but this is one I think you will absolutely agree with. The penultimate boss of Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse, the fucking doppelganger, is honestly an even more frustrating final boss than all three of Dracula's forms, in my opinion.
I really can't argue with that.
I think that the penultimate stage is actually a lot worse than the final stage in general. The final stage almost has a sort of... I mean, it's not a walkover, but it kind of has a sort of, like, Gradius-esque sensibility where it feels a little bit more like a cooldown after how heinous the entirety of what you just went through was, and I mean, with all the fucking hunchbacks and ravens and that one, vertical auto-scrolling bit and so forth. The fucking purple slimy motherfucking doppelganger that you fight at the end of that level is the shit cherry on top of the shit sundae you just went through.
And he's somewhat manageable if you have a spirit helper.
Yeah, the thing of it is, the doppelganger can actually be easily cheesed when it's slow and it's frustrating. But I've never, it's kind of tedious, but I've never actually beaten the boss without this trick. If you switch to your partner and or back to Trevor with the select button, the doppelganger will actually pause for a second. It can't be hit during this point, but it will then morph into the character you just turned into. And in the very small gap right after it takes full shape again, you basically, when you forced it to transform, you basically interrupted what it was doing. So you have a short, like, split second to actually basically hit them without any retaliation. And you can, if you time it right, you can just swap back and forth and keep them just kind of tangled up. Like, I want to say this is how Batman actually beat Clayface. Like, kind of forced him to overextend his transformation powers and mess him up that way. So that's kind of the principle that I apply to that.
And the thing is, it will keep moving. So you got to be prepared.
Yeah. If you don't have that trick, the doppelganger just attacks so arbitrarily. It is so random and patternless. It will just, throw out the whip or its cross or whatever sub-weapon it is if you're one of the other characters. And I just cannot predict its fucking movements at all. It can very easily trap you and murder you in the corner. And being as per the rules of the US Castlevania 3, you can only take 4 hits on a full life bar before you croak. So if you have decided to take the extremely ballsy route of refusing any partner help and just solo the game as Trevor, it can be done, but I've never done it because I can't fathom fighting the doppelganger without a partner, because fuck that. Oh my god.
On the other hand, I have.
Yeah, I remember you said you actually did that once.
It was a long time ago, but my reflexes were quite a bit sharper.
Yeah.
And to this day, I'm not sure exactly how I managed to do it, but I know I was down to my last hit before I died. So I basically pulled it wrongly on him.
Yeah. I would imagine, take him on arguably like you would Death. if you could stock up on triple holy waters, I'm sure that would help, or at least triple crosserangs, I think, would be good. Basically, you have to make it a fight of attrition, if I had to guess. And that's basically your only option, because trying to strategize with this bastard is pointless. If you try to jump over him, he will probably jump up into you, like, 90% of the time you try to do that, so...
Like I said, I don't know how I did it, but I did it.
I'm sure it is doable, and it is still a challenge that I've yet to touch upon once. Maybe I will attempt it myself if I feel ballsy enough someday, but I haven't felt ballsy enough in a while, so I must be rusting. I don't know.
And Batty, just since you're wondering, we're not actually going to talk about Shadow Link.
Shadow Link, I would say, is definitely a frustrating boss to bring up. That fight basically just boils down to crouch, stab, and hope it hits him. But I find that one more, I think, more... I mean, it is challenging enough, but if you take a defensive position, I think it just, like, lasts a long time. Because, like, trying to hit the bastard is tough, but... Basically, if you just spam the attack and you'll mostly just clash swords. I mean, it is probably still the hardest boss in the game, but he's not as bad as trying to navigate the fucking Great Palace to get there, in my opinion. What a mean-ass final dungeon. Ugh.
Now, see, I've never even gotten to Shadow Link because I suck at Zelda 2.
It's not an easy fucking game. I don't blame you.
Yeah, I couldn't even tell you if I've ever made any headway in that game or not.
Have you at least beaten the first dungeon, do you remember?
Maybe? It's been that long.
Do you remember fighting a large red knight with a horse with a horse head?
Yes.
Okay, then that was the first boss. If you've at least beaten him, that's good.
Can't remember if I finished that or not, but I know that I did fight him.
Oh, that's good enough. That's probably farther than most people got. Some people probably never even actually even got that far in the first temple, so...
You see, out of the 4 Zelda games I've actually, done my best to play through, that's the only one I never actually finished.
It is such a bizarre, batshit, and experimental game, and we will never see anything like it in the series again, I'm sure.
Nope. I am going to bring up a Zelda boss at some point. It's one you won't be expecting, but we'll get to that one later.
Oh, yes. We do actually have one on the list.
Yep. So, let's actually jump out of the NES here for a bit.
Sure.
Yeah, I think we should talk about Bronco, a.k.a. Garbage Bot 1987 from R-Type.
This is kind of the reason I'm not sure if I could ever willingly replay R-Type again.
Also, before you get into this, what Batty just said about doing a stream on the topic, yes, we have discussed that. So we may be seeing something like that soon.
Wait, dead genre what now? Huh?
It's not something you see a lot of anymore. Like the whole side-scrolling action RPG kind of thing.
Oh, you mean like what East 3 did?
Yeah, which was, I think, kind of modeled after stuff like Zelda 2.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just not something you see a lot of these days.
Not usually. I mean, I guess the closest thing you have to that are Metroidvanias, but I know that word really triggers some people, so, perish the thought.
Yeah. But, let's see. Yeah, R-Type.
Wolfpack, we do actually have a mention of Street Fighter on here, but it's not the boss that you would expect. We'll get to them eventually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I do remember him on the Super NES Street Fighter 2 being that much of a dick.
Oh, yeah. I'll gladly talk a bit more about him when we get to our entry on SF2, but... Anyway, so we're talking R-Type now.
Wait, hang on. Fornia. Yeah, that's probably why I don't know about many of those, because they're in the indie scene, and I don't really delve into that. So
I am pointing to this man who is a virtual caveman to remind you that he is a virtual caveman.
Hi.
Even if there's a game made like from just a couple years ago that plays like something on the NES, 99 times out of 100, Diarrhea would probably go for the actual NES game. So it is what it is.
Yep. So, yeah, I can't argue with that about the boss characters from Street Fighter 2.
Yep, pretty much.
But yes, back to ARG type.
Arg indeed. The latter half of R-Type just really shoots the difficulty up. Hell, even on a bad day, I think Stage 4 is just fucking mean enough with those motherfuckers who drop the little green dots that you gotta shoot through. I can actually get through the first 3 stages without too much fuss or muss for the most part, but Stage 4 is where it starts to grind, and then 5 is not so nice either. 6 is just like those narrow passageways with those fucking green and pink things. That's really annoying. But then Stage 7, the penultimate stage, arguably worse than the actual final stage, just spams these little tiny bots at you that if you're not fully powered up and if you have to continue, you will have to deal with them. It's kind of like the textbook sort of example I have of what I call a memorization ballet to try and get through, where it is just trial and error and figuring out where you need to be and when to actually fucking beat it. And that also extends to the boss of this stage, the Bronco. Basically, it's just this large blue eye with a mechanical arm that it doesn't really attack you very much for the most part, except to occasionally, like, drop out an enemy every now and again, but throughout the fight, you are just dealing with these 5 open trash chutes that just dump an arbitrary amount of debris down onto the field, and any bits, while most of these are destructible, any bit can kill you. And also, rising from the ground every now and again is like a mechanical, sort of serpent that's kind of like the like a robot version of the Dianoga from Star Wars. Best way I can put it. Basically, you're just dealing with a fucking rain of junk, and you have to try and hit the eyeball to not die, but ooh, it is a tall order to ask. In fact, this one long play I'm seeing doesn't even bother to attack the Bronco. It just waits in the lower right with the yellow weapon to destroy all debris above it until the boss just times out and goes away. I personally can't fathom doing that. I feel that's like a failure to have that happen, but, you know, if this long play felt that was the preferable option, I think that speaks volumes as to how fucking annoying Bronco and its fucking bullshit rain is to try and beat, so.
You know, I only ever played through R-Type on the Master System, and I do recall it being a pain there, too.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Batty, R-Type Leo is awesome. I think it doesn't get enough love, and I would gladly show it around to anyone who is, willing enough to accept something a little bit different for the series' general speed.
Oh, yeah. And it's too bad you missed our R-Type stream we did.
Yeah.
That was one I'd never really played through R-Type Leo before we did that stream, but I did it to go and brush up on it, and I really enjoyed it.
I would say Hot Take is the best arcade R-Type out there.
Blue Bronco, not a white one. Hey-oh!
Wolf, you lost me. I'm sorry.
Really?
Is that like a sports reference?
In a way.
The Denver Broncos?
The Denver Broncos. No. White Bronco was the vehicle that O.J. Simpson ran from the cops in.
Oh, right. Yeah, okay. He died recently. I didn't really mourn it.
Yeah, that was actually really nicely done there.
Yeah, I now that I actually, like Fry would say, oh, now I get it.
Well, imagine, okay, just to go off on a minor tangent here. At the time that happened, Speed was in theaters.
That's right.
And I remember going to see that with my friend Steve. And there's a scene where you see what looks like a white Bronco driving down the highway. Steve, in the middle of the theater, points and shouts, "There's OJ! There's OJ!" Oh, yeah, we got some looks.
That does sound like something that the old Scar crew would have done, yeah.
Oh, that was definitely a Steve thing. But yeah, R-Type Complete CD. That's one I've wanted to sink more time into. But I did check it out with the alternate tracks, and that is good.
Nice.
So, keep in mind, Wolf, we're talking about the same guy who also, when seeing The Lion King, when Timon and Pumbaa started singing The Lion Sleeps Tonight, he started singing it too at the top of his lungs. Yeah. It was fun to go to the movies with Steve sometimes.
But yeah, as per R-Type, I could put the entire second half and maybe level 4 of the game, but I decided to single on the Bronco because I remember when I actually did beat the game the first time, I easily spent the longest amount of time on the second half of Stage 7, so...
Yeah, that stage sucks. And the Bronco also sucks.
So don't get me started about R-Type 2. That game is just...
We already covered this in the R-Type stream we did.
Yeah, so we don't have to. Good.
Exactly. So, let's spin the wheel and come up with another boss. Well, I say we should... Because we haven't done it yet, how about we talk about... No, that'd be more you talking about it. Same thing there. And that's definitely you.
I do see one that is absolutely you, though, because I never actually played this port, if you wanted me to go there.
Sure, go for it.
How about you talk about the fucking Reed Dragon from the Sega Master System version of Rastan?
Oh yeah, that thing. That is one of the biggest obstacles you will encounter. It's an exclusive boss to that version. It takes up the entire screen. It has its head is on a whole bunch of sprites supposed to make up his neck, and the head just constantly going back and forth, raining fire on you. And you basically got to jump up and try and stab him in the head when he gets close, and not get fire rained on you. And that's very difficult to do. So I thought maybe I could actually complete the game one time, and then I got to him, and I was like, oh crap, I forgot about this thing. And yeah, he completely obliterated me. I don't know why they thought it was a good idea to go ahead and actually put this exclusive boss in the game, especially making him that hard. I mean, Rastan's not exactly an easy game to begin with. And they wanted to go ahead and add this new boss to go ahead and make it that much harder, just for the sake of being a console exclusive kind of thing. I don't know what they were thinking. Now,
not having...
you've seen video of this thing in action.
Yeah, not having played that game, but having seen it, I wonder, why wasn't this boss put at the very end? Because it's weird that you still have, a bit more of the game to go, and then the final boss is just like the dragon that you normally fight at the end of the arcade version, and that seemed just a little bit anticlimactic. Yes. Although, I never beat the arcade version without cheating, because it's one of those credit cutters, those motherfuckers that keep you from continuing in the last fucking level, which... That
practice should have been outlawed.
I really like Rastan otherwise, but that's kind of a fucking deal breaker, man. Ugh.
Yeah, that's bad. It's like Nastar Warrior will actually let you continue throughout the entire game.
Yes, so Nastar Warrior is a superior game as a result of this. God damn it!
Except that it's not.
Can I say that with a straight face? I'm not sure. What was the SMS version's policy in continuing? Actually,
limited continues.
Okay, well, just limited from the. Batty, I don't remember Growl actually cutting off continues on the last boss. If it did, I think it'd be kind of impossible to beat because
Yeah, I don't remember that either.
maybe it was a dip switch setting. I don't know.
Could be. I mean, I've played through the port that was on the Title Legends 2 disc, and I've played through the Genesis port.
I was going to say maybe Batty's talking about the Genesis port actually. Okay, so it was
Yeah.
the okay.
So unless they changed it on the Title Legends 2 to actually have continues.
Yeah, it might be some sort of weird setting, jangly. I don't know what to tell you there, unfortunately. Or my memory sucks, but I do remember actually beating Growls.
Yeah, that's a weird last boss, though.
It's just so out of fucking left field.
That
Hey,
is
there's a stream idea. Complete WTF moments in games that we'd like to talk about.
that is a good idea. What a twist!
Yeah, you know what? I'll try to remember that. We can think of a title of it afterward. We don't have anything like that down. Anyway,
Yeah,
yes.
but yeah, that's why I call the game Indiana Jones and the Clone Posers from Outer Space.
It's accurate. It is surprisingly accurate. I mean, like the game's already just straight up ripping off like Raiders and the Last Crusade
Even Temple to a
with
degree.
yeah, like I like it's not like the those large men in fezzes. They obviously resemble Sala, but I remember someone else posting in comparison that the ladies that attack you with the grenades, they do bear a little bit of a semblance to Elsa. Well, at least the blonde ones do.
I just
So,
thought they looked like mini-skirted secretaries.
no, yeah, it's possible. They may have been stretching that bit also, but
And then you got the newsboys in there.
yep.
But how did Prime refer to them? The Fez guys? It's like Legion of John Rhys Davies cosplayers.
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And then someone like, Friday the 13th Part 2 Baghead Jason fought you at some point also.
Yes.
What a bonkers fucking game. I'd love to talk about Growl in a stream if we haven't yet, but I wouldn't know where to fit that in. Maybe we did in the beat 'em up stream already. I don't know.
I think we did, but we are planning a Taito stream at some point in the future.
Yes. Yes. All right. Well, anyway, we digress. We've digressed a lot already. Continue.
That's just how these things go. There's not really much else to say about the Reed Dragon because he's just a really big, terrible boss. Anyway,
Edward Randy is a precious game. I kind of consider that a sort of trio of the best Data East games ever made, alongside Night Slashers and Boogie Wings. It is just such a precious 90s title, and I love it very much.
it should have come out on the Saturn like planned, but no.
It really should have, yeah. Bogus.
Yeah, it might see a release someday. Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, hey, we never expected Canada Dancer to ever get a release. And look what happened there.
True. And, yeah, Newman Athletics came to the arcade archives. I wasn't expecting that, but that game's awesome.
We start a petition. Demand Edward Randy.
Yes. Yes, only you can... Oh, of course you are, Batty. Hey, Batty, let me pitch one to you out of left field. You familiar with the Outfoxies at all?
Oh, the Outfoxies.
I love talking up that one whenever I get the chance. It's basically like prototype secret agent themed Smash Brothers, and it is a bonkers fucking insane game in the best way, and I love it.
Let me just say to Bruno, yeah, you probably want to skip the Genesis port anyway.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Don't recall if you have a PS2 or not, but look up Title Legends 2. You'll get the superior version.
Definitely. And Batty knows that, Foxies. I'm not disappointed in the least. You're rad. You're valid. You are very
And
valid.
you owned a PCB.
That's fucking crazy. Who's your favorite character? I quite liked Dweeb the monkey. But anyway, once again, we are digressing quite a bit.
It happens. This is a free-form kind of thing here at Dyer's Place.
Yeah. It's probably useless to play Order Muppet, as my friend Xerxes said. So,
Yeah.
Yes! Yeah. Dweeb easily has the best victory screen, where it changes the channel to some goofy, like, Sesame Street-like program.
I remember when you showed me that. I was like, what the hell?
it's
That's great.
it feels like a really good, like, what is this game from sort of game trivia question, and only anyone who really knows Outfoxy would know that, because they would not be able to fucking get it otherwise.
Yeah, exactly.
That game's just brimming with personality. But
All right.
anyway,
I'm going to throw one at you now, Mike.
please do.
Axel. Axel from Sparkster Super NES. Oh, yeah, in fact, did we not discuss Trio the Punch once already?
I don't know. Did
I
we ever have a
think,
Data East?
no, we
thingy?
did do the off the wall games.
Okay, yeah, we might have mentioned it there. Well,
Yeah, we
we
can
should.
definitely talk about it again if we only, whatever.
Yeah, I fucking love Trio the Punch. Also, I tend to bring up a Curse of Sheeps whenever I see like a bunch of sheeps on the side of the road. Sometimes because I live in a somewhat rural area, and
Yeah,
sometimes they pass by farms.
that was even the avatar that represented you on that stream.
Yeah, as the pink sheep guy. As the cursed sheep in question.
So, but yes. Oh, yeah, that Trio of the Punches is definitely a video game.
Utsurin Desu. I'm not sure if wasn't that one for the Famicom? Yeah. No, this is the one with the weird cat or bear guy or whatever. I am
Oh, yeah.
somewhat familiar with this game, but I'm not sure if I've ever played it. I should at some point, though.
Yeah. All right, Mike, hit us with your thoughts on Axel.
Yeah. All right. So, Axel Gear is Sparkster's rival throughout the Rocket Knight trilogy, and I'm not going to count that fourth game or whatever that was released in the 2010s or whatever. That was very mediocre. As far as I'm concerned, Sparkster's just a trilogy. And in all of the games you fight him in, he pilots a giant robot to fight you that Sparkster must also engage in a sort of Rock'em Sock'em Robots duel with him. He will also usually fight you on his own at some point. And yeah, they completely change the control schemes. Like, they're just a sort of out of context thing that you have to deal with. That they're kind of frustrating and kind of lowlights of the games no matter what, but I at least find the robot fights in the original Rocket Knight Adventures and the Genesis Sparkster to be reasonably tolerable. These are side-scrolling ventures that, if you stay defensive, you will, I think, eventually win. However, the inevitable robot fight you have against Axel in the SNES game is at the end of the 7th level, which is an overhead shmup-like section, actually. And after doing all the shmupping with your sword and this like glider that actually shoots bullets, you have to then go into a flying space robot, which then Axel challenges you to his own flying space robot fight. And, this is a lot shittier than the first two games' take on this. It's like an overhead sort of thing. It controls rather floatily. Axel just kind of punches arbitrarily. He strikes you a lot faster than he does with the clunkier robots in the first two games. And then he will eventually just kind of spam punch rushes at you and box you into the corner, which is just really, really fucking hard to avoid. And you can't be too defensive to ward off his punch assaults either. If you block too much, he will fucking destroy your arms, leaving a very weak-ass blaster as your only means of self-defense. But if he wears it down to this already, then basically you've pretty much already lost. And This fight, it plays like absolutely nothing else in the game, and it is fucking terrible. I have been able to beat it on lower difficulties, but I have not been able to beat it on a higher difficulty, by which you can only get to the true final boss of this game to play through. So, it is because of this motherfucker that I don't consider myself having fully beaten the SNES Sparkster. I would like to someday, but this just sucks so fucking much. Snarb, you might be right, that part might have been a rental trap. It feels just so arbitrarily unfair compared to the rest of the game, which could be tough, but mostly you know what to expect. In this case, I haven't really even figured out a pattern, and a long play that I'm seeing of the game just like fucking barely beats the fucking bastard with only like half a heart left, so I don't. If there is a better strategy than just throw your fists out randomly and hope for the fucking best, I would like to know it, but I'm thinking there might not be anything like that. This part just blows ass. And honestly, it is because of this one part alone that I actually prefer the Genesis Sparkster. I know that game's like a little less respected compared to the other two, but at least I can fairly beat it. Of course, you know, the Genesis Sparkster, neither of the games called Sparkster have nothing in Rocket Knight Adventures. Rocket Knight Adventures itself is practically a perfect game, but of the two sequels, this one boss is enough of a deal breaker for me that I actually prefer the Genesis Sparkster, so.
I actually didn't care for either Sparkster game.
Honestly, you really only need to play Rocket Knight Adventures. Let's be honest, the latter Sparkster games did feel more Sonic-y, for better or worse. Probably worse in your case, you'd say.
I'll stick with the original.
Yeah, it's really the only one you need.
Yeah.
They're not bad, but like RKA is just a golden fucking game. It's hard to argue with. So.
All right. Well, go ahead and hit me this time with one.
All right, Give, you want to go on next? You know what? No, wait. Let's not do that one yet. Let's do the one, it's kind of a predecessor to that one. Alrighty. We chose a boss from Final Fight, if you would like to talk about that bastard.
Oh, Sodom? Yeah.
Yes. Very appropriately named because he will butt-fuck your credits away. I'm sorry, that's a very crude way of saying it, but,
As always, Mike's working blue.
Yeah. Batty, Knuckle Bash, the Toa Play and Beat 'em Up. That game is goofy, and I quite like it. I'm not very good at it, but it is a fun ride.
That reminds me, I've actually had to look into Fightcade.
Yeah, actually, I could hook you up with that at some point if you're interested.
Yeah, actually, if you could. Let's face it, my short-term memory is Swiss cheese these days, so...
Yeah.
it sometimes takes me a few tries to remember to actually do something.
I got you, man.
And yes, Bruno, Rocket Knight does kick Sonic's ass.
Absolutely. RKA is... I don't know, it's like... I think I actually like it because it barely plays much like Sonic. It's only just nominally connected because, rodent-like mascot guy that you're playing as. But Sparkster himself, at least in the first game, he's not even all that edgy compared to Sonic. You know, he's just a very determined young man that wants to slay the Pig Empire. They made him look a lot... make him look a lot smirkier in the Genesis Sparkster. They give him more of a fucking Sonic tune, and like, come on, guys, I see what you're doing here. Yeah, Batty, actually, yes, that is what I intend to do. That is practically mandatory. So.
All right, so Sodom, yeah. This ass clown.
Yep.
Which is funny, because my favorite music in the entire game plays during his fight.
It's a good track, yeah.
Yeah. So, he's not hard. He's really not. He's just annoying because, you just need to get him in, a grapple and, do a, thing where you pound him on the ground. What's that called?
I'm not sure if you can actually attack them on the ground in this game.
No, you pick him up and you just slam him on the ground.
Or you mean Hagar's jumping pile driver?
No, you can actually do this with any character. I don't think it's a pile driver because that's where he jumps up in the air and just comes down on his head.
Uh,
Suplex. Yes, thank you for that.
okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, the auto dash. That's exactly where I was going to next because that is what will kill you more times than anything else. If you're looking to make a perfect run at Final Fight, this is going to be your basically your brick wall you're going to run into.
Yeah, the thing about
Unless you're
Sodom,
really, really good.
the thing about Sodom in the original Final Fight is that even today he actually scares me to fight because I don't know when he's going to do that fucking run and tackle and that does the sound. It sounds like a fucking like snare drum whenever he barges into you. And like sometimes he'll just hunch over invincibly and just wait there for several seconds before boom, or he'll just boom you immediately when he gets up, and I just can't tell the timing with that all so well. He gets more pissed off if you take one of his swords from him, and frankly, I wouldn't recommend that. Weapons are meant more as knockdown tools rather than big damage tools. I think you're usually better off just going with your fist in this case.
Yeah. I'll tell you this:
what?
when I first got to him, when I played Final Fight whenever ago, that was why I went for the swords. That was the biggest mistake I could have made.
Oh yes, very much so. It's generally not advised against him from what I can tell. But yeah, I think that yeah, if you're able to manipulate yourself over him as he gets up, then you can potentially grab him and do quite a bit of damage. But I'm not usually skilled enough to keep this up consistently, and yeah, I usually have to spend at least one continue on him when I get to him, or at least just one life. The farthest I ever got in one credit was actually all the way up to the industrial area. I was playing as Guy in that case. I don't know how the fuck I did that. Maybe it was something on the dip switch, but I haven't been able to replicate that in a really long time now.
And Batty, we were actually discussing that when we were planning the stream. It's like I didn't really know about that because I haven't played much of the alpha games.
Yeah. Sodom, actually, for his weird appearance, I always thought was very intimidating in Final Fight. When he became a playable character in Street Fighter Alpha, they made him a lot goofier, for better or worse. I do find him very fun to play. His G-Goku scrapes are very powerful, and they're actually what allowed me to get to reach and beat Akuma in the first Street Fighter Alpha, and I'm very proud of that still. But, I'm a little bit mixed on the whole weeaboo thing that they give him, and I think it might be the reason why we haven't seen him return in any modern Street Fighter games, because weeaboo's a bit more of a loaded term now. And I mean, that term didn't even exist in the 90s, but like the whole thing about otaku goofbag as he is, like, I think with some modification he could still work, but putting him in as he is probably not the best idea. So,
And
I don't know.
the most of any alpha game I've ever played is Street Fighter Zero 2 on the Super Famicom. So any of that stuff would be lost on me since all the dialogue's in Japanese.
I think actually, strangely enough, the really weird translations that Sodom has are only in the Japanese version, so it's kind of weird how that works. Also, offhand, that port is so much better than it has any right to be. It's a very impressive marvel of technology.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Getting a fucking CPS2 game onto the SNES was nothing short of a fucking masterwork.
Or it's kind of like how we were discussing Resident Evil 2 on the N64 with, full motion video and everything.
Oh yeah, that's fucking bonkers. And that's stuff that Derek would definitely love to talk about if he hasn't already. So
Yeah, maybe I have. Okay. So, yeah, Sodom, he sucks.
yeah. Rolento is arguably even worse than him, but I think Sodom is kind of like Soda Popinski in that he's the point where the game takes a major difficulty spike, and if you're going to die a lot to him, you're probably going to be credit feeding through a lot of the rest of the game. So
Yeah, they did cheat on that. There were a few other games that used a similar kind of mapper chip, so to speak, if I remember correctly. I don't mean stuff like the Super FX chip, because, well, we already all knew about that. Like, I think it's Jikyo Shibari Parodius that has one.
Yeah, that one that has the announcer chatter in it. Yes.
Yes. And, of course, Mega Man X2 and X3.
Oh, oh yeah, right. That's the special things that they had, which made them kind of tough to replicate for a while. So,
Yeah, but they got past that.
yep,
Okay, let me hit you with one this time.
please do.
Okay. I think. Yeah, SA1 is good.
Mm-hmm.
So, it played Gradius 3 on that. And that's just kind of murder. But fun.
Yeah,
It's a
I
fun way to
had
die.
yeah, I was actually doing pretty well until I reached actually the third boss, which was actually my biggest hurdle to get over as a kid. He was fucking difficult all over again, thanks to the speed. So those fucking diamond laser traps, god damn it.
All right, I'm going to give you another one that. Yeah, exactly. All right, Mike, you're getting another one that basically you know about here.
Sure.
Shao Kahn in Mortal Kombat 3.
Yep. The big bad of Mortal Kombat, or at least the most famous big bad that they've ever had. Shao Kahn first debuted in Mortal Kombat 2, and in my opinion, he wasn't so bad at the end of that one. He was very aggressive, but almost to a detriment, and he'd be vulnerable to several specials if you were fast enough. And he totally chumped out to Baraka's Blade Fury, and I could very easily beat him. I thought Kintaro was so much worse than Khan in 2, personally. 3, however, Khan is much less of a chump. But yes, Snarb Motaro is also really terrible. I don't know if I should talk about him more now, because they're both extremely fucking evil. Like, the thing about Motaro is that he just reflects projectiles back at you by existing. He also has some bullshit range with his donkey kick, and he spams his grab and smack so much, and he's pretty fucking evil, yeah. But, Shao Kahn, though, he doesn't reflect projectiles back at you, but, he is much more predictive and less foolhardy than he was in 2, and he took me just so much effort to beat. He's more discerning with his shoulder charges, and his new charging knee attack will pluck you out of the air just like any time you try to jump. He'll also whap you with a big old fucking hammer, and he just feels, yes, input reading Biznatch is pretty accurate. And the worst part is, Baraka isn't even in MK3, and no attack in that game is anywhere near as effective as the Blade Fury. At least not that I know. If there's an AI, like, wrecking move that you know of that would do well against Shao Kahn, I'd like to hear it. I think I might have beaten him with Cyrax, at least. The nets would occasionally work, but not as steady and readily. I think he'd often trade with his, like, green emerald barf projectile, best way I can put it. Anytime I tried to fire a projectile, and I was usually the loser of these trades, so yeah, that's fair. I know that MK... what's that, Rob?
I was going to say, so you can't win by getting to him with Striker and have him fall down and lap himself to death?
Well, it's funny because he actually can laugh at you. That's like quirk about Shao Kahn is that he can take time out of the fight to taunt or laugh at you in the middle of it. And you can give him a free strike during this chance, but he is so powerful that it's usually just a small luxury opportunity afforded to you every now and again, because he's just beating you the fuck down otherwise.
I would say just, him getting a look at Striker would cause him to just, you'd automatically win.
Yeah, like anyone else in the game feels like they might be something of a match, but Striker versus Khan is like the squash match of the century, to use wrestling parlance. Like, God, Striker's just such a fucking jobber supreme. It's just, oh man. He sucks. as we said in the last stream, we
Yes.
highlighted how much he sucks. But
Which is why I brought
um,
him up. But,
yeah,
at least, maybe you just need to copy the official rules of badminton.
I don't know. Maybe there is a good mitten.
No idea what we're doing. None.
None. But yeah, the only way to win MK3 is never play at all. I know that MK3 is not as beloved as 2. I still like MK3, but it was definitely the series at its doofiest and, silliest and most strange all in all. I actually like MK3 more than MK1 at least. 1 is I think a little bit too old school in some ways, but I would say of the old school MKs, yes, 2 is still the best one. That's not so surprising, but
You
it is
know,
what it is.
Batty, you might have just you actually hit me with the reason I don't really like Mortal Kombat 1 and 2. I was never into
Just
chess.
local. Yeah, I'm not great at chess either. I don't think I ever beat my dad at it, so it's not my thing.
Of course, I don't like 3 either, so.
Yeah.
I think the last one I played was the trilogy on the PS1.
That's basically an enhanced version of 3, more or less, so.
Yeah, I wasn't impressed with that either.
MK really does not seem like a Rob series. Like, I think you think the digitized graphics fad just looks incredibly gauche, if I had to guess.
Yeah, that never really bothered me.
Okay.
It's just,
Yep.
it's about all I can say. I prefer Street Fighter.
I do too, yes.
So, whatever.
Hey, you know what? Since you mentioned Street Fighter, maybe we should get around to the one we picked from SF2 then?
Well, we certainly could do that. That would basically knock out all the fighting games that are on our list.
If you'd like to do that. I mean, if that's too soon, I don't know.
Yeah, let's just get them out of the way.
Okay. I know fires aren't your digs, so probably be appropriate just to clamp down on that now. But anyway, Wolfpack, if you're still here, you did mention that Bison is a massive bitch to fight, and
Especially
I
on
do
the Super
agree.
NES.
Yeah, I do agree. He's definitely no pushover. He's extremely aggressive. He throws you a fucking hell of a lot. He's very in your face. I know that the original SF2 Bison pre-Champion Edition, the original unplayable version, if he hit you with his Psycho Crusher and you blocked it, it would do 6 hits worth of chip damage up to maximum if you were unlucky. Arguably, it was probably a better idea just to take the hit instead of try to defend against it. And if I'm mistaken, I'm not 100% sure about this, but it felt like to me that his double knee press, or his scissor kick, as I also see it called, it can hit you both one hit high and one hit low, meaning that if you don't block it just right, you will get hit by it no matter what. Or maybe it's even entirely unblockable, depending on the situation. Some really nasty X factors that they obviously had to cut down on when they made him a playable character, but even in Champion Edition onward, when he was playable, he was still pretty vicious to fight. That being said,
We're not here to talk about Bison.
Yes, I actually have less trouble against Bison than I do that shrieking, yodeling Spanish fuckbag Vega. I fucking hate Vega. All my homies hate Vega. Batty, exactly. Yes, yes. Or Claw, as he's known as in FGC parlance. The masked motherfucker with all his fucking cage dives and his yodeling and all that.
If I could quote Back to the Future Part 3 here real quick.
Please do.
He's an asshole.
Yeah, no, that's pretty on point. Easily the least sympathetic of Bison's elite. Yeah, even compared to Balrog, who's less super evil and more just extremely greedy and violent. And then, of course, Sagat, who I find Sagat may be very frustrating to fight as well, Mr. Tiger Spam bastard as he is. But most often, whenever I have a run on Street Fighter 2's arcade ladder, Vega usually tends to take me a couple continues to try and beat, if not more. And he was, as far as I can tell, designed to be just very frustrating. He has Even just innately as a boss, like the second longest reach in the game below Dhalsim, and I think he is the fastest character as well. He will just blitz you with a bunch of pokes, and then he'll do that
Mm-hmm.
fucking wall dive, which
Oh.
feels like you can't block him like 90% of the time that he does that, either with his claw strike or his Izuna drop throw. It feels very homing and hard to avoid. He's just very aggressive and very evasive. He also has this backflip which renders him invincible, and I just find him immensely fucking frustrating to fight. I also found out that, as a playable character in Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo specifically, he is the most busted character in that game who, at least aside from the most busted normally playable character, as it were. There's this one video done by a YouTube channel I really like called Guile Winquote that elaborates on why Super Turbo is so busted and loony, and Vega, being as broken as he is just the balance is just so terribly in his favor, to the extent that whenever he'd appear in the series from Street Fighter Alpha 3 onward, he'd often be low tier. The joke that Guile Winquote made was that he's still paying for his Super Turbo crimes after all these years. So.
And yes,
Anyway,
he did say
he
that.
annoys. Yes, he annoys the fuck out of me, and yeah, he's not my favorite character in the series either. Fucking the beautiful are so great, the ugly must die. He's a dickhead,
Mm-hmm.
to say the least. But
I hate fighting
and
him in
also
the game, and I do remember his fight with Chun-Li in the animated movie.
that part was pretty badass. Yeah,
Yes.
frightening too.
Agreed. That was actually, it's like you didn't quite expect him to be that unnerving, but he totally was.
No, that's pretty germane to how I think he is in the games. Also, maybe even more so. But also, tits. I'm sure you remember that too. So
That was before the fight, though.
yeah, yeah. Anyway, and also baddie, yeah, Mike in SF1 is very pointedly not Mike Bison / Balrog / Boxer, as it were. So,
Hey, Zafiro. How you doing?
Zafiro, I'm actually doing my Talkin' Street Fighter character bios on co-host now. I'm rounding near the end of Street Fighter 3's cast. As far as I can tell for Vega's overall continuity, all I can say for sure is that he grew up with an ugly asshole of a father who, like, murdered his mother in some sort of drunken rage, so Vega killed his father and then totally lost his fucking shit, and then believed that only beautiful people deserve to live. The ugly are as evil as they look, and I will fucking kill them. And he's mostly just operated off of that bloodthirsty principle and earned himself a very lofty position in Shadowloo because he's basically Bison's main assassin, and that's mostly been his thing for the most part. I think he also kind of creeped on Cammy because, as far as beautiful characters are concerned, like, that's kind of a given, but he took it to rather unnerving levels, as I remember. Although I think he did actually save her once when, like, Shadowloo's base was blowing up or whatnot, so that's, like, the only inkling of sympathy we can give him. Otherwise, he's one of the biggest assholes in the series.
He
So.
saved Kylie Minogue.
Yes, indeed. Oh yeah, I recently talked about Street Fighter the movie, the game on co-host. That is a bonkers, fucking weird ass experiment.
You son of a bitch, Bison.
Wait,
Yes.
hang on. I'm gonna kick that son of a bitch Bison's ass so hard that the next Bison wannabe will feel it. Now who's with me?
Yes.
The only part in that movie where Jean-Claude Van Damme actually seemed like he was giving a Van Damme. Womp womp.
And the fact that, the All-American Guile is Belgian.
Incredibly Belgian. Yeah, no, I mused about that too. It is just such a weird fucking casting decision.
Don't forget, coming up next, Van Damme and Van Damme, and Van Damme you all to hell.
Well, you know, Van Damme and Van Damme did star in the movie Double Impact, so there's that.
Yep.
Uh, hmm. I'd say maybe Zaf, you might have a point there, but I'm okay with Honda not developing. Like, sumo's just his thing, and that's all there is to it, but I don't think he needs to be anything more than a jovial sumo wrestler, so. There's some characters who I lament their relative lack of development, but, like, to be real, I think, like, only, like, a quarter of the cast overall gets any sort of really meaningful evolution throughout the series. Quite a few of them get, I think, undeservingly shafted, like, almost fucking everybody from Street Fighter 3. That still pisses me off, but I digress. If you wanted to check out my co-host page, Saphira, I could definitely link you to it, to all my really crazy Street Fighter write-ups. It's something that has helped me get through the slower moments at my workplace.
I just want the most important mysteries of Street Fighter to be answered.
Like what?
Well, for one thing, what happened to Ryu's red shoes?
They obviously wore out and he could never find a good cobbler for them.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I don't know either. And yes, Batty, King of Fighters probably has the best developed story out of any fighting game to exist. Red hair, that I don't know. And Fornea, if you mean garbage by personality or garbage in tears, I thought she was actually really good in Street Fighter 6's tears. It's mostly just through 5 that she was terrible, but 6 has already done a lot for her redemption. As far as her personality goes, FF6 has basically made her a fail girl, for better or worse. Okay, you do mean as far as personality. Like, it seems like 5 and 6 are hinting that she could have some sort of redemption, but she's just too kind of locked into her own bitterness to really go for it. I don't know. Maybe they'll build on her some more in due time, but I don't know. I think people have just accepted that she is a fail girl, and that's pretty much her charge now, for better or worse.
You know,
Anyway,
another one of those mysteries that really needs to be answered. Who is the chicken choker in Street Fighter 2?
Oh yeah, the guy in Chun-Li's level. I really have no idea, Davey. Anyway, we're getting way off topic. We should get on track of a boss that you can talk about.
Good point. All right, let's see. Let me pick one. Let's switch gears completely here.
Sure.
And I know if Great White North's still around, you might have some things to say about this one. Let's talk about Dark Force from Phantasy Star 2.
Oh, yes. Now, also known as Dark Falls in some cases, or whatever the bad translation has determined it is. I don't know.
That would be in the original game only. It was never referred to as Falls after that.
Yeah.
Now, disclaimer, I have never personally beaten Dark Force in Phantasy Star 2. I've never really got to him. I tried my brother's save game once. I played the game enough to where I know what I'm doing, but yeah, he is terrible.
Oh yes, very much so. What do I even say about this one? Unfortunately, Zap, Chun-Li has not killed Vega. He is still alive. As far as he disappeared after Street Fighter V, and he hasn't been seen since, so we don't know what happened to him.
Yeah.
He's probably going to come back at some point because SF6 doesn't seem interested in treading to too much new territory just yet. But I might be surprised. Season 2 is on the way. Anyway, yeah. Phantasy Star 2. So
now he also had a save file for Mother Brain, which is the true final boss.
Allegedly, yes. Which, if I'm not mistaken, you pretty much fight her almost immediately after Dark Force. I think there's like stretch in between where you can potentially fight some enemies, but it's just like a few minutes down the line. Mm-hmm. And Mother Brain isn't a walkover, but compared to Dark Force, she's kind of anticlimactic. It's sort of like a not quite like a Gradius Brain situation, but sort of like that.
Well, I'll just tell you that when I was playing with my brother's save files, I beat Mother Brain with relatively little problem.
Yes.
Dark Force, I could not barely do anything to. He's got that move where he like makes a whole bunch of faces, and you got to attack like all three of his heads, and it just
Yeah.
a Mother Brain, not voiced by Audrey too. Yes.
No, not that one. Fucking Captain N.
I
But
will.
yeah.
I will say he looks cool though, and
Oh yeah. No
his
question.
face in that is very reminiscent of the original Dark Falls in the original Phantasy Star.
Yeah. Dark Force looks really fucking cool no matter what game, and
Well,
it takes on several forms in Phantasy Star 4 to boot.
yeah. Have you ever seen him in 3?
Yeah,
I'm not overly fond of that version of him.
his face looks weird, I'll say that.
Yeah.
But then again, 3 being the dark sheep of the 4 original games as it is, I guess that's to be expected.
Yeah, everything was weird in that game compared to the other ones.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe we should talk about like black sheeps of certain series and see if we can find any redemption in them as another possible stream idea.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I don't think Phantasy Star 3 is necessarily bad. It's just not, really in line with the rest of them.
I liked 3. I would say I almost want to say I like it a little more than 2, but I'm not sure if I can really bring myself to do that. And yes, Profound Darkness, the true form, spoilers of Dark Force in PS4, is also really fucking cool looking.
Yeah. I watched a friend of mine finish that once, but I don't recall what he looks like, so I'm looking him up right now.
Okay. Actually, I think Profound Darkness is technically a she. Interestingly enough.
Well, let's see if I can find a decent picture here.
Anyway, about
I think you're
Star
right,
2.
actually.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty neat, though. Anyway, Phantasy Star 2 overall is a relentlessly brutal and old school as fuck RPG. Like, from the get-go, it will kick your balls until you bleed from your mouth, and it just won't let up stomping mud holes into your skull. It's not a very nice game.
No.
Is what I'm getting at. But excuse me. But like, you think it would ever let up, like how most RPGs tend to get easier as you beat enemies and get stronger? Nope! Not this one. It remains very fucking thoroughly evil all the way up to the end with fucking Dark Force here. Like, you think you'd find any mercy in the final dungeon where you're allowed to use all your items without ever having to hoard them for the future? No! It is a crushingly difficult final dungeon, and then to top it all off, Dark Force comes here with very powerful attacks that, like, whap off, like, 50 to 100 hit points of your party all simultaneously. And what is it that multiple faces attack does again? I don't remember. I'm gonna have to look this one up.
Yeah, I don't quite recall either. And Batty, I would say they're more shameless clones.
Let me see.
Oh yeah, Mother Brain.
What else can I say here? Of course, it takes a fuck ton of punishment as well. That's probably no surprise.
Oh, yeah.
It is a very
It's like a
real
damaged sponge.
marathon boss. Oh yeah, something I remember, and this is really cruel. Dark Force actually assaults you as you open up a treasure chest that is blocking your way to the end. And that is just like, surprise, bitch! It's just, woof. That's not cool. Oh yeah, what the face thing does is that it can possess your party members, which just completely freezes them up, temporarily takes them out of the fight every time they do that.
Oh yeah,
And
that sucks.
yeah, it's it is just like the whipped. No, I already said it was the shit cherry, but it's just like a topper to just a game that does not grant you any quarter. I don't know how I even fucking beat this game. I may have even had to use save states a few times. I think I actually beat it on the PS2 like Genesis collection or whatever, and I know that allowed for some custom saves because Saving in that game was very merciless, as far as I remember.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I said, Mother Brain at the very, very end is like the only real mercy that you get in the game. And once again, she's not like a total Gradius Brain, but compared to Dark Force, she might as well be your victory lap, or at least the closest thing that you get to one in this game.
And then, of
And then how
course,
about that ending? Huh?
yeah,
I'm not going to say anything.
the true final boss, which you're not even allowed to fight.
Oh yeah. That was a really bold thing for a game like it to do back in the day. It's fucking crazy.
Mm-hmm. I wonder what the people will see in the final days.
Damn.
Don't know why, but I always like that line.
It's a good one. Yeah.
So, yeah.
I wish more games ended like that, actually. Like, I don't like total, like, bitter, absolute fuck you downers, but more ambiguous, unexpected ones like that. More curveballs like that.
Exactly. Yeah, so that said, whereas my brother was able to finish the game legitimately from beginning to end, and also my friend Bob did the same thing, as the only two people I knew back in the day who did that. No. I was on my way to doing it when the cartridge got sold out from under me, but that's neither here nor there. But when I played my brother's, yeah, I could beat Mother Brain, but I could never beat Dark Force.
Yeah. I don't blame you.
So, all right. So, what do we got next on tap here? I got one for you, Mike.
Please do.
7 Force Kaid, an alien soldier.
Yeah, this is a bit of an odd one because you basically fight a boss transplanted over, kinda, sorta, from Treasure's prior hit, Gunstar Heroes. That's actually not the only boss, because also Melon Bread from that game gets remade.
Love Melon Bread.
To be less of a joke, but still no huge shakes as I remember. But unquestionably, anyone who's played Gunstar Heroes will tell you that, like, 7 Force is a real, well, tour de force. That's a little bit of a tautological term to use in that case, but a very impressive boss that has multiple forms depending on which difficulty you use. If you're on easy, difficulty you play as. If you're on easy, you only fight 3 forms. If you're on normal, you fight 5, and they're randomly predetermined. And on hard mode onward, you will face all 7. That being said, even if you have to take on all 7 in Gunstar Heroes, is definitely a real amount of effort to beat. But I do find that 7 Force and Gunstar Heroes relatively manageable. I'm trying to think of which form pissed me off the most. It was one of the vertical ones. It might have been that tail one that I found the most annoying, but I actually don't remember now. However, 7 Force also gets remade, so to speak, in Alien Soldier, and actually is, as per the really batshit lore that we got recently in Alien Soldier, and if you haven't read about that, it's definitely worth reading because holy fucking shit.
Exactly.
But basically, Epsilon Eagle's would-be girlfriend is unfortunately murdered. She's brought back as an unfeeling cyborg who then attacks Epsilon, and she's got control over these ceramics that she can form into various sort of homunculi creatures that are very reminiscent of 7 Force from Gunstar Heroes. And this is unfucking questionably the most grueling fight in the fucking game. Luckily, you don't actually have to fight a full 7 forms in this one. You only have to take on 5. However, it is unquestionably the longest, most drawn out, and heinous fucking fight in the game. You don't get any fucking life recovery throughout these 5 forms. And, like, you can't recover your life either in Gunstar Heroes, but maybe I just gel with Gunstar's mechanics better, but something about 7 Force Kaede and Alien Soldiers just feels so... Oh, there is recovery? It's been a long time since I played. I'm very rusty on the details. My apologies. That being said, oh, you can. Okay. Oh yeah, right. There are life bits. That's right. That's right. No, I remember now. Okay, well, scratch that then. I'm seeing some footage here, but it's like the first form is like a humanoid form that tosses boomerangs at you and kicks you. Second form is the urchin force, which rolls along on an auto track. I don't think those first two forms are so bad. Third form, things get trickier. It's this like free fall sort of weird serpent falcon thing that keeps trying to swipe at you with its arms. Alright, Fortnite, that sounds like a good idea. I'll make sure to look that up after the fact. I never actually beat the game on super hard. My skill is not enough, I don't think. I usually get stopped by that fucking invisible flying asshole at the end of stage 8, but I digress. The last two forms are easily the worst, though. The Tiger Force, with its real weird, like, agility and projectiles and whatnot. It is? Really? No, wait. Shit, hang on. I'm obviously looking up the wrong thing here. Okay, it's the last form that's, I think, the worst, with the fucking currents and the currents dragging you around, and it is a fucking bitch to try and actually hit, and it's got these mines floating about, and I don't know, I have I have a lot of difficulty with the final form in particular, and that you have to, if you die against it, if you still have any continues left on super hard, that you have to go through all 4 of the prior forms to actually beat it is just a real pain. Like, even if it was just the final form with the fucking whirlpool bullshit, I think it still would have been the worst boss in the game. But that you have to goddamn do everything else before it, just, it is just, it really wears me out personally. There may be some debate as to what the hardest game boss in the game is among people who are better at Alien Soldier than I am, but I will at least say Seven Force Kaede almost feel like they should have been the final boss, because the actual final boss, Zeta Leo, is kind of clown shoes in my opinion once you know what you're doing with them. They actually kind of feel a little bit unfinished in my opinion, but that's just me. Your mileage may vary.
I've barely been able to make a dent in that game, so eh.
Fair enough. Not much to say in this one.
Not really, no. I've never made it anywhere close to Seven Force.
Yeah. You remember how far you did get?
Let's see.
Did you at least get up to Z Tiger?
Yes.
Or G? Okay.
That's as far as I got right there.
Okay, that's fair then.
So, for now, I'm not sure exactly how you could 1cc that on hard, no less. Super hard, but you are better than I.
That's probably a better use of your time than me studying Battletoads for 2 weeks so I can beat the American version of that, but I guess we all have our challenge points to hit.
Yeah. Alright, so let's see. What do we got next? Yeah, well, I'm going to talk about the Union Lizard.
Okay. since we're on the Genesis, that seems like as good a pit stop to make.
Union Lizard, the final boss of Shadow Dancer, the Secret of Shinobi. You know, and a lot of this depends on which level you're playing the game on. When you first reach him on the easiest level, he can still be a little difficult if you don't know what you're doing or what you're prepared for. Because he really doesn't attack you directly until... Well, alright, let me explain. What he'll do is he'll send out these gray ninjas after you. He'll make them materialize from the 2 statues in the room. And those are the ninjas that take 3 hits each to destroy. And you have to do it because he'll send them out in set waves. So if you know what you're doing, you can dodge a few of them and they'll just roll off the screen. Other ones you have to go ahead and kill. But you have to be ready for when his head comes up, because that's the only time he's vulnerable, because there's a little spot in his neck. But fire is raining down at the same time. You can hide under one of the statues and it'll stop the fire from reaching him. So once you've gotten that figured out and you've got the pattern down, it's not that bad. And then Normal mode is just a bit harder. It's the hard mode. Many years ago, I decided to go ahead and play it on hard just to see how well I could do. I finished it, and I don't think I've ever screamed at a game like that as I not ever in my life. Bad enough just trying to get to them because it's nothing but gray ninjas in the last stage, and they can gang up on you and they'll kill you in one hit. But actually getting to him, and he's just sending them out left and right, and trying to kill them all and be able to get them all dead so you have enough time to go ahead and hit him in his weak spot. Ooh, that is a challenge. So, yeah, as a boss, he himself isn't really that hard. It's just combined with all the ninjas he summons, and you got the makings for an incredibly difficult boss. Have you ever played it at that level, Mike?
I may have once, but my memories are genuinely rusty. I'm not even sure if I beat it or not at that point. I want to say I did, but I'm not going to brag about it because he definitely earned your victory.
I'm just glad my parents weren't home that day.
Yeah, no. Well, let me just say that Union Lizard is a hilariously stupid name for a big bad in any given game. And he's also ridiculous. This like purple samurai with like a bug-ish face, as I recall. It's kind of goofy, but like fighting him is all certainly no joke. And like the ninjas, the rival ninjas that assault you in the old school Shinobi games are almost invariably among the most frustrating enemies. So that the fight is pretty much 90% of dealing with them absolutely does make it a very heinous challenge to try and keep up with. I have absolutely beaten this game, but on the highest difficulty, I do not remember so hot. So
I remember reading an old review of the game when it first came out. And one of the reviewers was like, I just wish the last boss would get out of his chair.
That would have been kind of cool. Definitely the laziest final boss since Lucifer at the end of Ghouls and Ghosts.
Mm-hmm. If he got out of his chair, he'd be taller than the screen.
That would have been pretty cool. I guess that's why they designed Sardius or Samael, wherever the fuck his name is, in Super Ghouls and Ghosts the way they did.
Yeah, okay, well, he's not. He's a little taller than the screen, if I remember correctly, but
yeah, exactly.
Lucifer would tower over him.
Yeah, that would have been neat.
Hey, you never know; it might happen someday. But yeah,
maybe it's like a secret code or whatever. Like beat the game 20 loops in a row, and Lucifer actually stand up.
I don't think any of us want to put her through that kind of torture.
I know one guy who might. They're a real Ghouls and Ghosts wizard.
Well, hey, more power to him.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, that's my take on the Union Lizard and how much he sucks. So in keeping with the ninja theme, go ahead, Mike.
I was just saying, and how dumb his name is. That's all.
Well, yeah, that too. But in keeping with the ninja theme, I'm going to turn this next one over to you. That would be the Guardia de Mew, Chikio from Ninja Gaiden.
AKA that guy who gave me nightmares as a kid, but you always thought looked really goofy.
Exactly. For a second, I thought you were going to, talk about dude from Rolling Thunder.
I'm not sure if Jackie-O made it. Jacqueline Onassis made it in my nightmares, but Mabu did, so. Yeah. Batty, funny you mentioned that. I'll spoil it. We also have Bangalore on here. In fact, since you forced my hand, I'd gladly get to the next after Jackie-O.
Sure, why not?
But yeah, Jackie-O, which the weirdly translated name, I am sure is supposed to be Jaki-OH, which I think is like Demon King or whatever in Japanese. They just really jangled that one up in the romanization. I mean, Kelbaros was supposed to be Cerberus, so... But I digress. Yeah, so Jackie-O jumps out and fights you right after you take on the Masked Devil, which, spoilers, is actually Ryu's Ken. Once you beat the clown nose in the background, then
Basically what it is.
cutscene plays. Cutscene plays, bad stuff happens. You fight Jack Hio, and all he does is fly rather quickly back and forth in midair while firing twin fire projectiles out of his hands that kinda sorta home down on you. Like, they swirl around with semi-homing capabilities, and it seems like a simple enough pattern, but for some reason, I just find it very hard to hit Jackass up there. And the odd physics on the projectiles absolutely do not help either. Like, he doesn't leave himself open for very long, and nowhere else than in this fight does your sword range feel relatively short. I do wish that you had the amenities that the later Ninja Gaidens offer you, i.e. the Phantom Doubles from 2, or the Sword Extension from 3. Those would have been very helpful here.
One quick aside here, Mike.
Yes.
Batty, actually, I just looked up and you were correct. Kerberos is Greek for Cerberus.
Oh! I never knew that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, fuck me with a razor. I always thought it was just Cerberus even in the original Greek. Huh. I guess it's kind of like a Heracles-Hercules thing, I guess.
Yeah, probably. Anyway, go on.
But yeah, the thing that really makes Jackie-O a fucking asshole is that after you beat the Masked Devil, you, for some inexplicable reason, lose whatever sub-weapon that you have carried with you to the final boss room. And my personal favorite of the sub-weapons in this game, the Art of the Fire Wheel, really does do quite a lot of good against Jackie-O. Since he's in the air, he's a natural target for it, and since he's a pretty big guy also, he'll likely get hit with all 3 of the wheels. So if you come in with the fire wheel and a significant amount of jutsu points, then yeah, he's not so bad. Problem is, though, you will not have that if you get to him right after beating the Masked Devil. So you have to try and beat him with your sword if you can, which is much easier said than done. And as we all know, if you blow it here, you get booted back to the beginning of Act 6. You have to fight your way through fucking Jetpack Ninja Jigoku and that one fucking bullshit spawn room in 6-2, as well as the bullshit that 6-1, 6-3 threw you, but mostly 6-2 being a fucking asshole as it is, to get all the way back and have another shot with Jackie-O.
So you and Batty are on the same page right now.
Yes, you know that the thing with the 6-1 was a glitch that some dickweed decided to leave in because they thought it was funny or something. I don't agree. That is a cruel... That's like an April Fool's Day prank that, like, gives you AIDS or some bullshit like that. It's terrible. That was a terrible analogy, and I'm sorry for it.
Well, let's face it, Mike. You know what that means.
Yes, hit me.
Okay.
I mean, there's some really bad April Fool's pranks, but that's like... I guess that's something like Cartman would have done. I don't fucking know. I don't really follow South Park anymore anyway, so it's immaterial.
Yeah, I don't either. So...
Yeah. I've kind of grown beyond it. Anyway, the only amenity is... Hey, Jay. The only amenity is that if you do manage to make it all the way back to Jackie-O, then you can actually come into the fight with the Art of the Fire Wheel, and if not kill him with it, at least make the fight significantly easier. Of course, then, when you get to the Demon Jashin, the true final boss, you once again lose the Art of the Fire Wheel, or whatever jutsu you had, and while I think Jashin is surprisingly a little less bad to deal with than Jackie-O, he's still definitely not a pushover. The random, like, weird... I don't know what you call those pink fireball sperm things that it shoots out are very random. and you have to shred off its head and tail before you can hit it in the heart. I do think it's a little easier because he's obviously immobile compared to Jackie, but it's definitely no pushover. And if you blow it here again, guess what? You gotta play from 6-1, and then hopefully at least get into the art of the fire wheel. Like on a bad day, I will have to play the entire final stage a whole 3 fucking times if I want to beat Ninja Gaiden. It's kind of like a compressed version of what you have to do in any given Ghosts and Goblins game.
And, Batty, we don't need any Atlantis No Nazo in anything. Even Atlantis No Nazo.
That game sucks and I hate it. I'm sorry.
And it was
not a fan.
And it was going to be released over here as Super Pitfall 2.
That still fucking cracks my brain to think about. I mean, if any game deserves the legacy of Super Pitfall, that's a fairly appropriate one to saddle it with, but like, how do I even qualify that? Anyway, one other thing I didn't want to say, one day I was actually in rare form and I managed to beat all 3 final bosses in one go. I have never been able to replicate that. I don't know what I did, if I did anything differently or if my reflexes were just really on point that day, but usually I have to, if I ever do replay Ninja Gaiden, I usually do have to do that once, at least once more, if not twice, because Jackie-O's a fucking asswipe, so.
Impressive.
Yeah.
All right, so, well, let's keep up with the whole ninja thing, go right to Bangalore.
Yep, since, once again, our hand was forced, as it were. Thank you, Batty. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, how well do you remember this fight? I want to rust my throat a little.
Well, I haven't finished Ninja Warriors again in some time, which is the only one I've ever played through. And I do remember he's inside some kind of gigantic machine. He sends a whole bunch of other ninjas and soldiers and whatever after you. And you got to basically pick them up and chuck them into him.
Yeah.
So, and eventually you break the glass, and I think that's where it ends, right? Or do you have to actually beat up on him?
Oh, no. You just have to drain his life bar by completely breaking his glass, and then I think you basically just like one-shot him afterward automatically, or like he flies out and that kills him. And then, of course, spoilers, you fucking blow the fuck up and vaporize everything.
Yep.
I don't know why you couldn't have done that instead of having, I guess he had to personally confirm the kill or whatever, but I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I fucking love Ninja Warriors again, and it's really awesome remake, Ninja Saviors, or whatever you want to call it, Ninja Warriors once again. Awesome games by and large, but Bangalore is kind of a shitty final boss, I hate to say. You're not so much fighting him as you're just fighting a massive rush of enemies, and the only way you can win is by exploiting a gimmick that you've never really had to do throughout the rest of the game, which I don't consider great final boss design. That's like anathemic to what I think a final boss should be, which is a final exam proving that you've done everything well up to this point in the game, and now we're going to test you. While throwing enemies has been something you've likely been doing a lot throughout the game, throwing them onto a specific target has not in so much been a thing you've had to ever do at this point. And if you're the ninja whose throws are more wide sweeping, you will have an easier time for this boss, even if the ninja's probably the hardest control of 3 heroes. I'm not even considering the 2 new characters that you have in Ninja Saviors because they're quite weird to play as. Kunoichi does okay as well, although I do find her, for the balanced character, I find her a little bit hard to play as. I just think her range is a little bit short. At least I've never done great with her. Maybe I just need more practice. For the most part, in the original game, actually, in the remake, I actually like Ninja more, but in the original version of NWA, I actually like Kamaitachi the most. He seems to have the overall best balance of speed and attack range to deal with. Except that he has to deal with the handicap that he cannot grab enemies simply by moving into them. He can only throw them by pressing back and Y or up and Y when finishing up a combo, and it takes a little bit of practice to get the timing for that right. So he has or I think you can do that with forward and Y as well. A direction and the attack button, in case. So he easily has the worst fucking time dealing with Bangalore, and it is just pulling fucking teeth. I think I actually did manage to beat the final boss and the entire game with Kamaitachi without continuing at least once, but I haven't been able to replicate that. I just find it a huge pain in the ass. Not to mention that Bangalore is also raining these laser gates down on you, which is sort of his contribution to the fight,
Yeah, I
while
forgot about those.
all the mooks are pouring in, as it were. Sorry, but what little bit did they fix in the remake? Because I don't think they gave Kamatachi the ability to grab enemies easily. I have not beaten the remake of Kamaitachi without continuing, but I did beat it with Ninja without continuing. And I think they made him stronger with the amenities at the game. No, honestly, I think it's harder. I think it's easier with Ninja, ironically enough. Although this is just my experience, your mileage may vary. But, Bangalore's a fucking asswipe to beat no matter what the case. And, Noir Detective Story on the... Wow, that's weird. That's weird.
You've never seen that?
I think I've heard something about it, like the Sega CD port of the original game had some weird Omaki thing on it. I only vaguely remember this, but I forget exactly what it went into.
It's got to do with Zentada, I know that much.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Daddy Mulk might have been involved somehow, but I don't remember. But
I think you're right.
Anyway, again, I do really love NWA, but Bangalore at the end is kind of a goddamn drag. I also think Jubei, the boss at the end of Stage 5, is a massive asshole, but at least he is a quote-unquote fairer fight. He's not a massive gimmick. He's just like an Akuma-level martial artist who's really hard to beat. But funny enough, in the original arcade Ninja Warriors, Bangalore, he just hides behind one of those like boss-like sort of like super fighters with like the samurai helmets and the chains and whatnot, but after you beat that, he just cowers in the corner and you kill him in one hit, and then that's the end of the game. So at least this time he puts up some more resistance, although I'm not sure if that was a good idea. So
yeah, I have not played through the remake yet.
It's definitely worth it. It is on Steam now, if I'm not mistaken, so if you wanted to get it on PC...
It actually went on sale not too long ago. I had a little extra cash, so I was able to afford it. It was like, less than $10, I think.
Nice. Hey.
So, yes, remake is good.
I need to go refill my water bottle. You want to talk about one for a bit?
Sure, I'll talk about one for a bit.
I'll be back in a minute.
All right. I don't recall that, but then again, I barely played the remake, so... Anyway, while Mike's gone, I figure I'll talk a little bit about, this is a Zelda boss. It's one that is very easy to defeat, yes, but there's just one thing it does that's super annoying, and it always pisses me off whenever I play it, whenever I play the game. From A Link to the Past, it's the Moldorm, which is basically like the first actual boss you fight. Only because he will knock you into that pit, and then you have to go back up the stairs and fight him again, hope you don't get knocked off again. It's annoying. It's really, really annoying. Yeah, there's harder bosses in the game. There's more pain. Definitely ones that are more of a pain in the ass, but that is just one of the most pain in the ass things ever. So, just a minor gripe about that one because, frankly, it's always annoyed me ever since I played it. Very first time back in the days of prehistory or whatever that was. I'm old. What can I say? Anyway. So yeah, the Moldorm. Very annoying little big worm, Google-eyed son of a bitch. And that's pretty much all I can say about that until Mike gets back. So in the meantime, let me just go ahead and... No, this would have been after that, actually. No, I played through the original Zelda long before I ever touched Link to the Past. On a side note, I have to say that personally, the Super NES is like my 8th favorite system of all time. I know there's so many people out there who think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. I'm not one of them. There are good games on it, but I'd rather play the NES or the Genesis or the PC Engine or the Master System or the Atari 7800 or, yeah, all those before I even touch a Super NES. So, and that's my 2 cents on the whole Super NES thing being the greatest video game console ever made. For what it's worth, the N64 doesn't even rank. I have no love for that console at all. There are very few games I'd like to play on it at all, and F-Zero X, that's about the best thing on there. So,
hey, I'm back. What did I miss?
and yes, the PC Engine is the true Super NES. Oh, I talked about the Moldorm.
Ah, yeah, that jittery ass. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, went down the wrong hole there. Anyway, yeah, Moldorm certainly not the worst boss.
Here, go ahead and take care of that. Welcome back for now.
Hey there. Okay, no, I think I'm good.
All right.
Yeah, Moldorm is not the worst boss in Link to the Past, but the whole you have to do the entire fight over if it knocks you into the pit thing. It's just very blatantly obnoxious, and I remember when I first played through the game, I fell to that shit several times over, and it was just like, come on, what am I doing here?
Yeah. Hey, Jay, honestly, the Super NES is your preference, and I know you do say yes to Super NES a lot. That's a plug for his at least semi-weekly stream about Super NES games. Catch it on Great White North channel here on YouTube. But, you know, I certainly wouldn't hold that against you, and you've played some killer games on there, so.
Oh yeah, Fortnite, that is a good point. You're still just stuck with the weak-ass fighter sword at the time you reach him. That is essentially the last challenge you take on with the fighter sword before you mercifully upgrade to the master sword, so I guess it's appropriate that this fight is as annoying as it is when you fight in the beginning of the game. Thankfully, when the Moldorm reappears all the way near the end of the game in Ganon's tower, it falls much easier this time, but yeah, this is mostly a boss that we upvote more on annoyance than difficulty. Now, as far as annoyance and difficulty is concerned, I remember Mothula with its fucking room full of roving spikes being very fucking annoying to deal with. But, it's been a little bit of a while since I played, so my memory's kind of iffy. I remember Cold Stare kind of being a bit of a bitch. Or maybe that was just the Ice Palace in general being, like, the worst dungeon in the game, but yeah, Mothula fucking sucks. Maybe we should have put them on there instead.
I don't even remember Mothula.
The third boss of the Dark World of the Skull Woods dungeon, which is already a really rickety dungeon to start, because they're kind of shifting through the over and underworld, and it's all kind of oddly designed. But Mothula, you fight in a room lined with those, like, shifting, you know, those like 8-way spike thingies, and it is shooting a bunch of energy rings while the spikes keep flying back and forth across the arena. And for some reason, the floor is also moving and constantly bringing you towards one edge of the screen. I remember on TV Tropes that the Mothula fight was actually the image for the fake difficulty trope for the longest time. So, yeah, no, Mothula is probably the worst goddamn boss in the game, pound for pound, or one of the worst at any rate. I remember most bosses afterwards really not being so bad. Maybe Trinix was kind of tricky, but I don't know. It's been a long time since I played Link to the Past.
Maybe I blocked it out of my memory.
It is possible. Did you ever beat Link to the Past, by the by?
A couple times. Yeah, I've actually finished Zelda, Link to the Past, and Link's Awakening.
Those are great ones to finish.
And then I stopped because I played Ocarina of Time for like 10 minutes and was like, nope, I'm out.
Oh, you mean overrated of time? I'm not going to start that tonight. I am not going to fucking start that tonight unless
Oh,
anyone wants
Mike,
me to.
Mike.
Womp womp. Oh, Lawsy.
Yeah, who knows if I'll ever go through that again. Also, you're welcome, Jay. And
Hey, no problem.
yeah, if I don't know if I'll ever play through A Link to the Past again. And yes, you are correct, Batty. And you're also correct about the Super NES not being the cultural juggernaut that the NES was.
I still do really like the Super NES, but I can see why you all are as relatively jaded on it as you are.
Hey, at least, it still made it in my top 10.
Yes, it is still a very great console, all things considered. The N64 I don't think is as great, and the nostalgia that it's getting now feels a little baffling to me. I guess that's just how the the cultural touchstones of time just kind of roll out. Like, at someday, 20 more years in the future, we're going to have some people saying that Xbox 360 was the greatest fucking console of all time.
Or the PS3.
And then I will cry.
Or the Wii.
And then I will cry for the future.
Well, just keep in mind, as the generations get older, they have a tendency to look back upon the things they enjoyed most when they were younger and had fewer responsibilities and so on and so forth. Yeah.
You're right, Snarv. They do. I didn't want to acknowledge it, but yes, they do. And I hate it. Now I'm just getting into cocking and dicking here.
Well, if it tells you anything, the first time I ever saw people saying, oh, yeah, the Xbox 360, I remember playing that all the time when I was a kid. It's like, just dig my grave and throw me in there now, please, because I'm apparently that old that I'm about to turn to dust.
Yeah, no, it kind of terrifies me at this point. I don't want to, ever complain about being old because it's going to look like clown shoes compared to a lot of the other people I know, you included. But I am also starting to feel that to an extent lately. And actually, I forget, did I tell you about how I know I told other people this, so I'm not sure I told you that. One group of friends of mine was talking about how great Minecraft is, and oh no, wait, I did post this on T3M. That's right. I just don't fucking get Minecraft, and that so many people are into it now just really makes me feel like I'm on an island. It's just.
I played Minecraft a couple of times. Do you want to know what I did in that game?
What's that?
I dug a hole.
Okay.
And I went as far down as I possibly could. And then I think I fell into some lava and died.
I did also play it a couple of times myself, but I don't even remember what I goddamn did in it, so...
I literally just dug a hole straight downward.
More power to you, Fornea. I don't think I've reached that phase yet, but hopefully with time and reckoning, I will get there.
That's okay, Fornea. I'm Gen X and no one remembers us, so... And we like it that way.
I do like what I played at Terraria, at least. I need to get back on that. I know Fornea is a huge Terraria mark, and it is a rad game for what I played, so... I got you, Batty. I got you.
Never heard of Terraria before.
It is quite a cool game, though. It's... I would definitely be much... more crafting and simish games usually are my thing, but I'd be much more motivated to get on Terraria than I would on Minecraft. Terraria actually just kind of turned into a flat-out action game later. You actually take on some pretty wicked bosses in the future, if you get far enough, so that's neat. Anyway, we are getting kind of way off the goddamn beaten path here. What do we do now?
Minecraft is worth it to dig holes straight down. There, I said it.
There are other games where I think I can do that. I have played SteamWorld Dig and its sequel, and you can do that there too.
Chop, chop, dig, chop, chop, dig, dig. I hear digging, but I don't hear any chopping. Oh, you can actually do that in Terraria.
Mm.
Oh yeah, totally.
Womp womp.
Yeah, and we embrace that fact, but just really wish the younger generations would just kind of not poke the bear. It's like just keep hammering away on the boomers, all right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Leave us out
Anyway,
of
anyway,
this. Anyway,
anyway. Yeah. Let's get back to this
so
then.
yes, let's see. Where should we go next?
If I might suggest,
What did we do? Absolutely nothing worth the attention.
if I might suggest one, the last one of the 8-bit generation we could do, and one that I can certainly babble about on length, if that's okay.
Sure, because I know what you're talking about. Sorry, I just got distracted because there's a couple of cat paws sticking under my door.
They'll do that, the little dickens.
Yeah, and he's playing with something out there and banging on the door. Thanks, Ash.
Yep, that's cat behavior.
What do you expect, Sharon? It was new.
Anyway, so
Yes, my taste is aged like a fine Merlot. And fava beans and nice Chianti or whatever. Go on.
anyway, yeah.
Yes, let's speak of Mega Man 2.
I originally thought of putting the Yellow Devil from Mega Man 1 on here, as while he is certainly very annoying if you don't invoke the Elect Beam trick, it is still a boss, a competent enough boss, so to speak, if not just a very frustrating and drawn out one, and also one that has been resurrected many times in future games because the Yellow Devil's apparently like the Clock Tower from Castlevania. So, that's frustrating. But, in Mega Man 2, you do not fight any devil-esque enemies. You do, however, take on something much worse, in my opinion, at the end of the 4th Wily Castle stage, which is already the worst stage in the game, in my opinion.
But before you get into that, just a comment about the Yellow Devil.
Yeah, what's that?
Back when I first played the game, no one knew what its name actually was. We called him Molecule Man.
Wow. That's actually not a bad title.
Mm-hmm. But yes, go on. You were saying about
Molecule
Wily.
Molecule Man, much more yellow than other man.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. There has not ever been a Molecule Man in the game, to note, but anyway. So yeah. Wily Stage 4 is the assiest level in the game. It is basically the final full level before the last two, which are just the boss rush and then the final fights. So it would go, I guess, to stand that it would be the roughest level in the game, all things considered. But I still find it very annoying with, like, the false floors and, like, bringing back those fucking platforms from Crash Man's level, but now they're worse and all that. It's not an easy level to get past, but then it tops you off with a very crappy and very boring-looking boss at the end called the Boo Beam Trap.
Oh, yeah.
And all this is just a room that has these 5 shitty little dome-like cannons, which, like, blink every 5 seconds and then shoot in unison, very difficult to avoid homing shots at you.
Although it is possible.
You can avoid, yes, but when there's all 5 of them on there, it is nigh impossible. However, as you whittle them down, it does get somewhat easier to avoid them. But the thing about the Boo Beam Trap is that it's less of a boss fight, and it's more of a timed puzzle, in my opinion. You have to figure out how to destroy all of the Boo Beam cannons. And they are only destroyed by launching one of Crash Man's crash bombs into them. Not even the explosion, just the direct impact is what kills them, if I'm not mistaken. There are 5 of them, and as per the weapon energy that you are afforded from a full bar of the crash bombs, you are only able to fire out 7 crash bombs before that meter completely depletes.
Mm-hmm.
You will need all 7 crash bomb shots, 5 to destroy the actual Boo Beams, and 2 to destroy the only 2 walls that you cannot get around.
Yep.
If you like it with just like a 30 seconds of examination or whatever, you can figure out which walls you can destroy and which ones you can actually get around, like using the 3 platform items and whatnot. But you will have to do that. There's like one wall that you have to fly under with the item 1 or whatever. I mean, I have the boss figured out at this point, but it is just incredibly obnoxious and, in my opinion, kind of dull. But before you figure out how to solve it or whatever, it is also just very, very annoying to deal with. I call it a timed puzzle because you have to try and destroy all the boo beams before they're really hard to dodge shots will eventually whittle down your life bar. I'm not sure if it's probably possible, but it's not at all easy to beat this boss without having to use at least one energy tank, I am sure. The real bitch about this fight is that if you do botch one of your crash bombs for whatever reason or another, Batty has mentioned this. The boo beam trap is really, really strict. If you don't do it absolutely perfectly, you lose and have no... Alright, Fornea. Good on you. That's kind of making me feel a little inadequate, but...
Keep in mind, Fornea, I think you may have some kind of supernatural gaming skills here, because you've 1cc'd Alien Soldier on super hard. And I have no idea how that's even possible.
Yeah, keep in mind that we are not at your level of skill. I'd like to think I'm pretty good at games, but I realize that there are always better, and I don't necessarily need to be reminded about it, so thank you.
So, that aside, that is a very impressive accomplishment, though.
It is, yeah. What I'm just getting at is that even if you have it figured out, the boo beam trap is just really annoying, and just like there's not in so much as much skill to it as it is just kind of going through the motions on it and getting to the end of it, and I just do not look forward to it every time that I replay Mega Man 2, which by all accounts for the most part is as legendary a game as its reputation would lead you to believe. But you don't hear many people talk about that particular boss when they're talking about the game's good points, and that's because there's nothing good about it. It fucking sucks.
Yeah, I'm no fan of it either, but I look at it as actually getting killed and having to go back and farm your weapon power up as doing it the easy way.
Yeah, like, honestly, instead of having to fucking grind my energy up, I'd rather just, blow through all my lives and just restart the damn thing with all my weapon energy. Although then I would have... I think you can get an energy tank in the level, but that would be uphill to... Yeah, I don't know. It's just sloppily designed overall. That's all there is to it.
It's
worst boss in the series? Hard to say. If there is a worst boss, I would like to hear it, but it's definitely up there, I can say.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, pretty much. Hey, as Mike said earlier, they can't all be zingers.
Exactly. And yes, Batty, that is true. Mega Man 2 was a genuine passion project, and of course it really paid off, but it's crazy that the development team was told, you just make this on your own time, we're not gonna pull together the effort to do it. But then it hit big, and then Mega Man was shitting gold on easy streets. Pretty impressive story, all things considered.
Oh yeah. Look at how many iterations of Mega Man have come out since then.
Many. Mm-hmm. And now they don't in so much, for better or worse. So. Oh, fuck, yeah, the Wily Capsule in 7. Oh, geez, how could I forget that? Oh, that one's a fucking asshole. Oh, my God.
Now, see, I wouldn't even know anything about that.
And yeah, Mega Man and Bass or Rockman and Forte. I don't like replaying that one so much. Even for Mega Man standards, it's just kind of really mean in its difficulty. So,
hey, Mike, continue this for a minute. I have to step out for a second.
Okay. What else can I say? Other really bad bosses in the series. I think the Block Devil in Mega Man 10 is also really heinous. It is absolutely better when you're playing as Forte. Honestly, the game just feels much, much more designed around bass slash forte, and you're deliberately and unfunnily handicapping yourself if you're playing as Mega Man, because like his Charge Buster being like the only thing that he has for him is just like clown shoes compared to bass's fucking dash and double jump and machine gun buster and all that. Like, the only problem that Bass has is that it takes a little longer for him to kill bosses if he doesn't have the weapon that they're weak to. And even then, that's for the most part not so bad. Except that Burner Man fucking sucks no matter what. And when I play his stage and or fight and eventually lose to him, I remember why I didn't like this game as much. And then I just kind of stopped there. So, I normally love Mega Man, but if I actually had to say a classic Mega Man game that's my least favorite, it might actually be Rock Band and Forte. And yes, that's even taking the Game Boy games into mind and knowing that the first 3 of those were kind of iffy. So, yeah, I don't know, hot take or what, but, yeah, no, it's just, it just feels like some real work to beat it rather than fun, but,
Hey ho, Misa back.
Hey Paisano? I said that already. You know what? I never actually played the Wonder Swan game yet. I've heard it was not very good, however.
I don't think I played that either.
I keep meaning to get around to it, but I just never had. However, I hear it is kind of sloppy and iffy, but it's a Mega Man game I never played before, so I'm sure it's worth it someday. And it can't be worse than the fucking DOS games, am I right?
Oh, God.
Those fucking pieces of ass. Oh my God. Yeah, that's right. Quint or Rockman Shadow, wherever his fucking name is. He's the bad guy for some reason in that one, and that's like that'd be like making Millhouse like Mr. Burns in some sort of weird Simpsons story or some bullshit. I don't know.
Also, on the subject of the DOS games, my friend Lars had one of those when we were in high school.
Oh, Jesus Christ. You actually played one of those motherfuckers?
I did, the first one.
Gross.
Yeah.
Very gross.
It was an experience.
Sounds like a bad trip, man.
It wasn't quite that bad, but it was pretty bad. Yeah,
Mega Man just looks so blondie in those games.
Yep. And as Baddish put it, one guy programmed the DOS 1 and 3. And
yeah, Steve
everything.
Rosner.
So,
I mean,
for what he was able to do with that by himself, it's actually kind of impressive, even if it is absolutely terrible.
Yeah, no. I mean, I respect Steve Rosner for being able to do that, even if the end result was pretty clunky, to say the least. But, it's about the level of quality you'd expect for a one-man programmed deal to be churned out in the amount of time it was, which isn't very good. But again, I at least respect the cheek of it.
Exactly, Batty. There have been worse DOS games, but as Mega Man games, yeah.
Bart Kira? Wait, I vaguely remember hearing about Bart Kira, but no, I don't really remember the details.
Millhouse's Tetsuo? Wow, that's blowing my mind.
Jesus Christ, Denton. Anyway, you want to move on to one that you can talk more about?
Yeah, let's go ahead and cover... All right. One of my personal favorites, who looks really awesome, but is still kind of a pain in the butt. That would be from Treasure's Radiant Silvergun, the final boss of the game, not counting the gem thing, whatever it's called.
Stone Lake?
The Stone Lake, thank you. This would be Ziga. He's basically, it's like everything you fight in the game is some kind of a spaceship or a spaceship that looks like an animal or something, including that one, which is a very deliberate nod to the R9.
Yeah, that was a neat one.
Not Ziga. Ziga is a giant humanoid. And the only advice, because they give you advice at the beginning of every boss, the only advice they can give you for him, because the other ones would be like, it's like be attitude for gains, something, 1 something, 2 something, 3 something,
Very oddly translated, most of those.
Yes. For Ziga, it's be attitude for gains. 1, be praying. 2, be praying. 3, be praying.
It is a real fucking fever dream of a final fight, and I'm pretty sure that was deliberate. I mean,
Yeah, and it's like first he comes down and does the superhero landing,
oh yeah, he does do what Deadpool would call that, yeah.
and then when he attacks, like the screen starts shifting to, you see which angle he's coming from, and of course he's shooting projectiles at you, and every so often he'll actually attack you by trying to kick your ship.
Yep.
And at one point, or several, if you don't beat him fast enough, he will do Guile's flash kick.
Yep.
The first time I saw it, of course, he sends out a string of projectiles whenever he does a flash kick. And it was just like, did he actually just do a Guile?
Yep.
And of course, the further you go along, eventually you're like right below him, shooting up at him. And he's just raining down these projectiles on you. Luckily, you have a very small hitbox. You can dodge through them. But there's so many of them there, and you have to shoot him in the chest, at which point you see the stone like it's right at the center of his chest, like his heart. And it starts beating faster and faster and faster. And finally, when it explodes, he just plummets way down to the surface and explodes. And then you have to... Well, see, he's kind of the last boss, if you don't count the stone like, because you don't actually fight the stone like when you go up against it. It's basically just dodge all the shit it throws at you for 60 seconds.
Yep.
I think I've seen that Carrot Tops kit.
That's really neat.
But yeah, first time I ever saw Ziga, first just the whole, giant humanoid boss and a shooter was just like, that's crazy. And then he proceeded to wail on me. So he awed and annoyed me at the same time.
So yeah, it's pretty on point.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on old Ziggy there?
I agree. I think it is one of the coolest fucking final bosses ever, and to just have this giant dark red sort of homunculi just fucking playing against you in a shmup, but he thinks he's in a fighting game is just such a fantastically bonkers concept that I like. It's just this is like the type of shit you don't usually see out of video games nowadays.
And on top of that, the music they play during his fight is just apocalyptic.
Instead of being like a really like throbbing super like techno gabber piece or something that you think would fit the frantic pace of the fight, it is instead just a very ominous angelic choir that you're hearing, and that's just the entire music. It makes you feel like you're actually fighting a god or some celestial entity or like biblically accurate like angel bullshit or whatever.
Which in a way you are.
Yeah, kinda, basically. I mean, like, Hitoshi Sakamoto's score for the entire game is just unconventional and fucking amazing all around, and this topper here to it all is just like, wow, what a composer. But, yeah, no, Ziga's really no fucking joke. I will say, maybe not the most concentratedly heinous boss in the game.
No.
I did say that there are a few fights you have before you get to him, and the immediate boss you fight before him, a sort of metal phoenix-like sort of boss by the name of Otrigen. I have a lot of trouble with that one also. That one's very fucking projectile heavy, and I'd say it's almost worse than Ziga, if not for the fact that it can also be beaten pretty quickly. Ziga is quite tough, but the thing that makes him as much of a bitch as he is that he's a real marathon to fight. I believe he has 4 different phases before you completely wear him down. It's like, there's this one running phase, there's this upside down phase, there's the phase where the screen keeps tilting around, there's the phase where he's spinning repeatedly and fires. Actually, it seems like there's 5 phases, and like the final one is where he assumes, as Chris Cornell would have sung, the Jesus Christ pose, and then just rains down a bunch of fucking blue diamonds on you while he's trying to zap you with lasers as well.
That's the one I was talking about. when
That is very fucking frantic. Like, you're always goddamn on. You always have to have your eyes just wide fucking open, your reflexes as concentrated as you can get them, but it is a real kick in the pants no matter what. But it is also just so fucking awesome. Maybe the greatest final boss ever put into a shmup. I don't know if that's hyperbole or what, but he would be a contender if not the winner, in my opinion.
No, definitely.
And then again, you're not even fully done because you have to deal with the Stonelight like final minutes barrage, and that is also extremely difficult to survive unscathed.
Oh, yes, it is.
So,
And as the fact you can't actually fight him, you just have to dodge.
yeah, no, that's it's a really impressive set piece, and Radiant Silvergun is absolutely not lacking in impressive set pieces. But oh boy, I not sure what record I have for how many credits it takes me to beat Radiant Silvergun, but I think that might be a pretty crappy record, whatever the case. I love the game, but I am no good at it.
Maybe a better question is, how many dogs have you found?
Not too many. I know there's that thing in the home versions, but I don't recall how many I have actually found. But I don't think it is very many, whatever the case.
I know on my original copy that I had back in the late 90s, I actually got to the point of Dog Master or something like that. I had about 30 dogs running around the doghouse. I remember the first time I saw him, it's like, I'm shooting at nothing, all of a sudden, ruff, ruff, and then it appears.
Yeah, and that's not like the only shoot 'em up that has something like that. Like, I think in some of the Raiden games, if you like shoot in certain spaces, you like get the company mascot Miklas to show up and give you bonus points.
Yeah, I think so.
And there's some other games that did that also. Like, you shoot in some place and like a fairy comes out that powers you up. I can't remember what specific game that was though, but it is a trope that I have seen in several shoot 'em ups, find the bonus item. And I'm usually terrible at finding secrets, but I always think it's cute when there's something like that in there. Anyway, so yes. Radiant Silvergun, awesome game, awesome final boss, asshole final boss. Yes. Where do we want to go from here?
So, let's take another detour and head back into Capcom land. I think this time we... Hang on a second. You don't suppose? Really? Well, what's it called?
Right, jam appeared unsupported. Ooh. Wow, is this pre-Raiden? Wow. Holy shit, that's pretty neat, whatever it is. Like, I know that, say, Air Raid Cross Shooter. No, I don't think I know that one. Batty, where do you get these wonderful toys? I know that Seibu Kaihatsu stuff, for some reason, was really hard to emulate on MAME for a long time. For some reason, like, they had some real bullshit encryption that was somehow harder to crack than for other games. A basic cute 'em up. Interesting. Well, I'd still like to see it, whatever the case. I'm not sure if you have a channel where you can upload stuff if you're, at liberty to do so. But I'd be interested to see what that one looks like.
Yeah, me too. But yeah, let's go back into Capcom, except we're going to go ahead and go into Resident Evil 3.
Oh, yes, indeed. How's it go again? I think it goes like... Stars! Something like that.
Yeah, I think you'd put a little more emphasis on it there.
Stars!
It's like...
I don't know, something like that.
Excuse me, stars.
No, I don't think he sounded quite that suave, but anyway, we are of course talking about the title character, technically, of Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, the trash can wearing the trash bag wearing bioweapon that marauded Jill Valentine all throughout her rather sexy attempt to escape Raccoon City before it blows up.
Her sexy attempt.
That casual outfit of hers was pretty iconic back in the day, all things considered.
Yeah.
Like, I want to say it made it into like someone's like alternate outfit as a fighting game at some point, but I might be wrong. At any rate, so I've never been the biggest fan of Resident Evil 3 compared to some other games in the series. it is quite a good game, but I can never quite shake the fact that it does feel less like a true 3, a succeeding Resident Evil 2, and really more like a Gaiden. And I do always still believe that Code Veronica really feels more like the true 3. And I swear that I read at some point that it was. So Code Veronica was supposed to be the actual 3, but this apparently is not the case. That's apocryphal, and I read something wrong or whatever. So I don't know. At any rate, though, I still do like Nemesis, except that when the Nemesis himself shows up, instead of being like, "Oh my god, what the shit? What do I do?" I'm like, "Oh, you fucking asshole! Get out of the goddamn way already!"
And
And Zafira, that sounds pretty cool. Nemesis scenario. I'm gonna have to look this up.
Batty also, yes, welcome to the club.
Yeah, I'm not really as great a storyteller for the most part. I'm really just more about analyzing the things and questions themselves. But Rob here is a hell of a storyteller. He's got them for days and weeks and ages. So
And I've written most of them down.
yeah, exactly.
Yes. But we'll get that at the end of the stream. But anyway, go on.
Nemesis scenarios sound pretty rad though. You actually get to play as him. Ooh. You know what? I might actually have to try this. I will say that Nemesis being playable in Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and Infinite, he is, if not an easy character to play as, he is very fun. You just whack the opponent with his giant rocket launcher and then use his tentacles as well. And he just has a really nice brute sort of approach to how he whomps his enemies there. So yeah,
you said rocket launcher. Now, you're sure it's not a rocket launcher?
No, I mean, I don't think so. It's not like he's pummeling characters with, a steel wrestling chair or anything like that. Although I could totally see him doing that if he has something.
Rocket launcher.
If he finds something like that nearby. No Metal Slug reference in this case. No, it is an actual giant tube that shoots explodey things.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, maybe you can clarify one thing for me.
What's up?
Now, if I recall correctly, in Resident Evil 2, there was also a big character that was... What was that guy?
Yes, Mr. X, he was known as. At least that was his semi-technical designation. He was technically, I believe, an upgraded model of the Tyrant, which was the final boss of the original Resident Evil. And that doesn't really become apparent until near the end of the game, where he sheds his coat and becomes all mutated-like and whatnot. And Nemesis is ostensibly, I believe, an offshoot of the Tyrant model as well, a bioweapon specifically created by Umbrella to silence the STARS unit to which Jill and Chris belong to, and/or anyone who would maybe potentially foil their machinations or whatever. So he's basically a big old lumbering, ugly fucking assassin.
Now I remember the original Tyrant. That's the only Resident Evil game I ever finished.
Yes, with his heart on the outside.
Yep. And doesn't he skewer a whisker?
He does, yes. That was coming to that fucker. He totally deserved it.
Oh yeah.
Except that, as you learn later, no, he totally intended it. He was reborn after he was killed or some fucking anime bullshit like that.
Unnecessary retcon.
I'm not sure if they... For the longest time, I'm not sure if they intended to actually bring Wesker back, but they totally did in Code Veronica Onward, and he did become the main villain of the series de facto for a few games after. Well, I guess he wasn't really the main villain again until 5, but he was a fairly constant part of the series throughout the 2000s. So,
you know what should have heralded his arrival in every game he showed up in after that?
What's that now?
Like, say you're exploring or whatever, and all of a sudden he shows up, and before you see him, you hear, "Don't open that door!"
That would be pretty hilarious if someone can, mod in the RE2 or whatever for that or whatever. But anyway, getting off the beaten path a little bit here. So, Yeah, the catch of Resident Evil 3 Nemesis is that Raccoon City's gone to shit and Jill's got to escape. But in addition to all the zombies and the bioweapons that are floating around, and I know she has to deal with a giant worm at some point, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a little bit of a while since I played it, but their biggest threat is the pursuit of Nemesis, who is, even if he's not much of a talker outside of growling stars every now and again, he is technically an intelligent bioweapon who will pursuit and maraud her all throughout the entire game. And that means in certain various places in the game, he will pop up and attempt to beat her the fuck down. You're supposed to run away whenever these actually semi-random bits happen, although you can get like some bonus weapon parts or cool items or whatever if you do manage to beat him, but it does of course cost a lot of ammunition to try and do that, and you have to determine whether or not the cost of your resources is really worth it to try and incapacitate him in that point. Actually, Betty, I do want to get to that in a bit, but while I do think that Nemesis has a really cool appearance, to be sure, I do find him also very fucking annoying to deal with personally, and I am glad that for the most part you don't actually have to fight him, except when you do in front of the clock tower after that rather memorable puzzle-ass clock tower that you gotta solve. Jill thinks that she's finally getting away. A rescue helicopter finally appears. Until Nemesis blows the motherfucker out of the sky with his rocket launcher, and then as the smoldering remains of the chopper are in the clock tower courtyard, you do actually have to fight Nemesis now. There's no way around it. And this took me many, many, many fucking tries to beat, as I recall. He doesn't lose a step in his agility or his strength, and, you have some real estate to navigate around the courtyard in question, but it's not as much space as I personally would have liked. And, my memory again is a little bit rusty, but I just remember him always catching up to me, giving me a very good whack, and my resources just kind of petering out as I tried to counter with whatever I had at the time. It has been way too long since I played. I imagine that I forget if you even have the grenade launcher at this point. Like I said, my memories are much rustier on Nemesis than several other games, but I remember just using every healing thing I had left, whatever the strongest ammo for I had was. If I had those cool freeze rounds for the grenade launcher, this is definitely where I would have used them, but he's usually in your face, he's always punching and strangling you, and he, at this point, uses his tentacles for long-range strikes and grabs, which, say what you will about pervert anime at this point or whatever, but it is not a very nice fight, and while Nemesis is notably somewhat more action-oriented than RE2, which itself was more action-oriented than RE1, these still aren't like games where your hero or heroine has supernatural abilities. There is apparently a dodge mechanic in 3, but it is extremely hard to pull off consistently to the point that's really not worth relying on. So you just have to deal with the series at this point, rather standard tank controls to try and avoid all of the tacklings and stabbings that Nemesis is giving you at this point, and it is kind of really pulling teeth. I just remember having to do this fight a lot, and it was ugly. It was easily the part where I remember getting my ass kicked the most throughout this game. You do actually have to fight Nemesis a couple more times afterward, and his body is mutating even further, but I think it's the Clock Tower Courtyard fight that's easily the most brutal part of the game that you have to deal with. At least that I remember.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, so I brought up Mr. X. That does give us a chance to segue into our next boss, Mr. X.
Actually, I did want to address one thing offhand, though. Batty, I did also play the RE3 remake, and it wasn't excellent. And I do think the RE4 remake was great, but yeah, are they really going to remake 5 at this point? Does it deserve one? I don't know. We can do RE later, though, but I digress.
Yeah, but
Anyway.
we're going to talk about another Mr. X. Mr. X from Streets of Rage.
Yeah, who is inexplicably like twice as tall as your player characters, at least in the first Streets of Rage. What's up with that anyway?
Who knows? And he follows in the grand tradition of the final boss of a fighting game, or like that, brawler, having a machine gun.
Yep, taking a page right from good old DD and the Shadow Warriors leader Willie. Mr. X is much nicer dressed than Willie's dumb yellow jumpsuit. He's in what I assume is some sort of green Giorgio Armani suit or whatever, but this is a North Star villain. That is very possible, yeah. But
he's just a pain. He has this charge attack, and he'll fire at you and swing the machine gun, and it's just like such an annoying boss. He's definitely beatable, but ugh.
Yeah, despite his incredibly tall size, he's incredibly fast, and it's like he just kind of shuffles around the room. It's sort of a almost goofily animated sprite with how he rockets around proportional to how he's moving, but he alternates between whapping you with the butt of his gun, which really fucking hurts, and firing said gun, which can be hard to avoid. And all throughout a steady stream of the strongest Galcia variants, the red ones with blonde hair, keep streaming in, and I don't think they stop. And I do feel that, as is the case over a lot of beat-em-ups, like, the bosses themselves are annoying enough, but when they have just a steady stream of mooks supporting them, that makes them a jillion times worse. So...
yeah. And, that's like a Sega tradition right there. Look at Golden Axe.
Oh, yeah. All of Death Adder's fucking immortal skeletons or whatever.
Yes.
Those bastards.
Oh, but, yeah, just Mr. X. I hate him. I really do.
Yeah. And he's enough of a dick that... that if you say yes to the offer he gives you, he'll drop you all the way back to stage 6, and you really do have to play it again. Yeah. And 7 and 8, and with how 8 is also a fucking goddamn boss rush, and that includes Onihime and Yasha, and or Mona and Lisa, who are also really fucking obnoxious bosses.
AKA the Blaze twins?
Yes, that's them. Yeah, no, it's a kind of a hilarious trick, but also pretty mean. Of course, there is that bad ending you can get in 2-player if one says yes, the other says no, and that's a really neat Easter egg.
Snarb has a point there.
Yeah, kinda. You're not wrong. I'm not sure he has an out-and-out shoulder tackle like Rocksteady does, but it is otherwise kind of similar.
He does have that running around and charge you attack.
That is true.
Rocksteady does not have.
Yes. Mr. X is also the boss of Streets of Rage 2, and I would say he is slightly less bad in this game, since I think he doesn't do quite as much damage as he did, but he is still nonetheless very annoying, and I remember, I think one time I was playing on hard, and I really just had to pull a Brawnlee to try and just barely beat him with whatever lives I didn't have. Actually, I think one other time I actually blew it in the 11th hour, and I just kind of lost it on stream, but that's neither here nor there.
I remember that.
Oh, you do actually remember... Oh, okay.
I was there that night.
Oh. Okay, so... yeah, I did totally do that, huh?
Yes. It wasn't as funny as what happened in Cobra Triangle, though.
No, the Cobra Triangle thing was fucking hilarious. Street Rage 2 thing was just sad.
Yes, that was pretty sad.
Yeah.
But rather than dwell on that, answer me this, because I forget. Is Mr. X in Street Rage 3?
Yes and no. This is where it gets foobar.
Does it depend on what path you take?
Actually, kind of, sort of, yes. Well, actually, no matter how far you get into the game, you will ostensibly reach Mr. X in level 5. Except that, no, this is a robot copy, and he burns away his upper torso and reveals the weird metal skeleton beneath.
Holy crap, he's a Terminator.
Yeah, exactly. Robot X is pretty frustrating to deal with, too, though, with his, hand-mounted machine guns and homing missiles. He's very annoying to deal with. But if you're playing on easy, the game will end, and apparently the real Mr. X is watching you, and it's like the end or whatever. And then that was real fucking bullshit that the fucking that the Western release of SOR 3 could not make you beat it on easy mode, which is like the only fair difficulty, but we've gotten into that bullshit before, I'm sure. If you do not beat the 6th level in time and rescue the general/chief of police, then you never end up fighting the actual Mr. X. You just fight a more powerful version of Shiva at the end. However, if you do beat it in time and you get to the real path, which is the robot factory, you find out that in a case of Schrodinger's ending, that the real Mr. X is now just a brain in a large jar, or some sort of like one of those things in Star Wars, like a giant tube of water or whatever.
A back to tank?
Yeah, back to tank. That's what I mean. And instead of fighting him directly, because he's obviously in no position to do so, he sends a flying green robot at you called either Neo X or Robot Y. And if you don't beat this floating robot in time, then the goddamn base blows up and takes most of the city with it, and you get the bad ending. Very much easier said than done in the Western version, because the robot is kind of hard to beat in time, in my opinion. Much easier, of course, in Bare Knuckle 3. In Streets of Rage 3, I've only ever done it once. Otherwise, I just couldn't, get the right timing for Robot Y's very weird flyings about. But
Robot
it
Y,
is
as
also
in why do we care?
This is also a supremely frustrating final boss, in my opinion. So, yeah, no. Mr. X is a fucking asshole no matter what. Even if he's not even directly fighting you, so...
So what exactly is the Andros treatment?
I'm guessing Zafir was referring to how... you fight the fake Andros in the fake ending path, and you don't know what happens to the real one. Then if you fight the real one, he turns out to be a giant floating brain. So, that does actually happen. You beat him as Rue? Wow, that's pretty impressive. And, yeah, that is... I would say maybe Mr. X is kind of a RoboCop 2 reference to what happened with Kane in a very nasty little segment. That movie was very violent.
The Great Data East Arcade Massacre of 1990. We will never forget.
Right. I remember the Midnight Resistance machine took quite a pounding, as I recall. Alas.
Oh, that's painful.
It is, yeah. I actually like RoboCop 2, even though I know it's not a good movie, but it's just kind of bonkers and in fun ways, so...
Speaking of brains in jars, you remember the boss in Revenge of Shinobi? That is essentially a brain in a jar.
That was the third boss, I think.
The one in the airplane.
Yeah, that was the third boss.
Now, I don't know if this was ever confirmed to be true, or if it was just a rumor or what, but I remember hearing somewhere at one point that was the brain of the masked ninja from the original game.
What? That is the first time I have ever fucking heard that.
Huh. Yeah, I remember hearing that somewhere, but I have no idea if there's any truth to that at all.
Yeah, that might be apocryphal. I mean, I wouldn't unbelieve it, but it is a really fucking weird turn, to say the least. I remember
that bit in RoboCop 2.
That was the best part, yeah. That part is really the soul of the movie. It is basically the movie saying that making a RoboCop 2 is a bad idea, At least that's kind of the takeaway I've made of it, and I like to think that whether or not it was intended, that's actually semi clever at least.
Hmm.
Anyway, what's with the giant brain that's the second boss of Shinobi 3 then, is what I want to know.
Giant brain. That's okay. Is that the one that looks like a piece of pus head art?
I'm not sure, but it was like this brain in a sort of like floating machine, and it was able to teleport around. If you remember at all.
Oh, it's been a while, so I don't quite recall that one.
I will show you later. Remind me.
Okay. But anyway,
as it is, we got to get it rolling with this.
Yeah, we're down to our final three. The stage 2 boss of Shinobi 3.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Yeah.
Has it really been that long?
Again, I'll show you later. So
Okay.
it's no problem.
So let's go ahead and touch on ghouls and ghosts. Oh, the hopping brains. I remember those.
Yeah, those jerks.
But yeah, ghouls and ghosts. The game's difficult. We all know that. No, I think that's actually in Super Ghouls and Ghosts.
Zafira might be talking about the Shinobi 3 boss at the end of stage 3.
Then again,
That
that's
giant-
possible.
The giant Hydra or whatever, the large corpsey pile of flesh. Really cool boss, but kind of nauseating.
But yeah, Ghouls and Ghosts, the one boss, which I personally found more annoying than anything else, would be the Ome. I think it's how it's pronounced.
Yeah.
The basically dead fish worm thing at the end of stage 4 that has little hearts that pop out and you have to destroy them. But you're constantly running into like these, indestructible worms that come out of it and the little maggots that come out, which can be destroyed, thank God. Oh yeah, the giant flesh monster. Yeah, from Shinobi 3. Yeah, Zafiro. That's the piece of pus head art I was talking about. But
Yeah, no, that was unfortunately the boss I was referring to.
I have totally forgotten the second boss. Anyway, but yes, the Ome. It's takes a while. So, because the hearts will retreat back into the thing's body. So, you have to wait for them to pop back out before you can hit them. Yeah, actually, Storm's got a point there. It definitely was lifting a bit from Nausicaa.
Yeah, the giant corpse weapon they had near the end.
Yeah. So, yeah, that thing is just really annoying, and that's really all I could say about it. Mike?
No, I do think it is visually the most impressive boss, at least. Gigantic green corpse slug or whatever with 5 exposed hearts. It is a pretty neat premise, to say the least. I just wish that the hearts had any goddamn consistency as to when they expose themselves, because as far as I can tell, it's completely random when they are and are not vulnerable, which is annoying enough. Also, you do absolutely have to completely make use of Arthur's ability to fire downward in this fight. There's absolutely no other way you can hit the hearts. This fight would be absolutely impossible if it were in Super Ghouls and Ghosts, funny enough. But
Actually, there is a way.
Really?
Mm-hmm. It's kind of tricky to pull off, though. You have to basically go down to either end of the thing at like the last possible part before you fall off, and you can actually duck and shoot the hearts.
That does seem a little bit impractical, but I guess you can do it that way, yeah.
It does work.
Tricky enough as it is, but yeah, it just takes a long time to beat because you have to destroy all 5 of its hearts, and like I said, they just expose themselves whenever the hell they want to, but it's those fucking indestructible worms that just really get me, because they fly around in also seemingly arbitrary patterns, or if there is any rhyme and reason to those patterns, I cannot discern it. And they seem to get more aggressive and more frequent as you destroy more of the hearts. At least I thought that was how that worked anyway, but
what I hate is
a real nasty piece of work as a...
when they fly right over your head So even if you have a clear shot at a heart, you can't jump to shoot at it.
Yes, and what I double hate is that, like I said, as per its complete randomness, you don't know when it's just going to dive back into the body and thus collide right into you.
Mm-hmm.
So you might just get locked down and get fucking hit no matter what. That one guy I mentioned who's a real ghouls and ghosts wizard, they might have figured out some pattern to Ome's worms, and maybe I should consult them on this at some point. But like, as far as I can tell, the fight. I don't know if this is just skill issue or I'm a scrub or what, but there are times where it feels like the fight will let you win when it wants you to. I don't know if that's a little bit too far to say,
There
but
are times it feels that way.
it is pretty heinous to say the least. I also think the ostensible last boss of the normal run, Beelzebub, is also very difficult to deal with. He's not as long, but when he turns into a bunch of small flies, it can be just really, really, really hard to dodge that stream when he flies around and like the platform you're on doesn't even afford you the proper cover to jump over the barrage of flies that it brings onto you. So honestly, I think Lucifer is kind of an anti-climax compared to both Ome and Beelzebub, but maybe that was the point, so I don't know.
Also, have you noticed that Beelzebub's music sounds like deranged carnival music?
A little bit, I think I see it. I just remember it having a lot of buzzing to it.
Yeah, that's part of it. But when it goes into like the, I guess you could say the chorus of the song, it just
Yeah,
it plays jangly and off key, so it just sounds weird.
I can kind of hear that. I'm playing it here. I can see that. Interesting.
So yeah,
Anyway, but
that's
yeah,
that'll sum him up.
some buggy assholes to say the least. So
Yeah. All right, so we're winding down with the last two here. So the next one I'm going to talk about, because I'm going to let Mike field the last one, would be Covered Core from Gradius 2, 3, and who makes a bonus cameo appearance in Gradius Gaiden as
yeah,
a rusting pile of junk in Stage 2, which is still functional.
yep.
Anyway, not a terribly tough boss, but they call him Covered Core for a reason. He has these panels that spin around and will block your shots, so you can't exactly shoot the core. And he'll shoot out a rain of missiles from both on top and below his body. And you kind of have to weave your way through them in order to survive. So it's annoying, not impossible, but definitely annoying. And the fact that they apparently thought he was annoying enough to bring him back in Gradius 3 as part of the boss rush was just like, oh, thanks, guys. Thanks. Really appreciate that.
Yeah.
So it's one of those bosses. And there's tougher Gradius bosses out there, not including the last boss usually. But that one in particular is just like, go away. Go away, Covered Core.
Yeah. I actually, as a kid, just see I wasn't given a name for him in the manual of Gradius 3, so I just nicknamed him Plutonium without actually knowing that he was the Covered Core because, or it, I should say, because it actually looks like one of those nuclear hazard symbols with its
Yes, it does.
coverings. And I wonder if that was actually intentional or not.
Hard to say.
I would like to know for sure. But, again, if not the most outright vicious boss in the Gradius series, it is totally one of the most obnoxious and really does fly an awful lot of missiles at you up
Yeah.
and down, to say the least. I mean,
I'd be willing to bet that's what gave Batty issues when they were trying to do their recording.
yeah, no, that wouldn't surprise me. Is my memory's a little rusty. I wish I had more to say. Just that he is a total jerk, and I thought that he made an appearance in either Gradius 4 and 5, but this appears to not be the case. My memory is just really pissing out here. So
I can't actually recall any other games he appeared in other than 2, 3, and his little cameo in Gaiden.
According to just looking at a wiki quickly, no, he was not. Although a miniature version of it called L Cover was in the hidden Gradius minigame Force Gear and Tokimeki Memorial. So there is that.
I'm trying to recall if I ever saw that in there or not.
Interesting. But yeah,
Anyway,
not much to say about this one. Most of the core bosses are pretty heinous in their own ways, but covered core, if not the most vicious, is definitely the most tedious. So
yep. And we are going to wrap things up with one more boss from a Konami game. In a game that's known for being one of the hardest games in the series. That would be the interestingly named Long Hand Guy from Contra Hardcore.
yeah, if you're not sure what the name is, for those of you who have played hardcore, I will gladly remind you. He is that egg-shaped motherfucker that you fight at the end of stage 4, the jungle level, that takes like 10 fucking minutes to kill for no adequately explored reason. God damn it, this fight pisses me off. Like, even more than, the marathon that you have to go against Neumann Cascade, stupid names, 6 fucking forms. The long hand guy is even worse than that somehow. Hardcore has some branching paths to it. Unfortunately, no matter what path you go on with hardcore, you will always have to fight this egg-shaped fucker. So, Batty, I'm not sure if they actually take less punishment in the Japanese version. It is very possible, but only the version I'm familiar with. It is. Ugh. Like, let me see. Like, it's not so bad at first as I recall this. It's just like kind of chasing you for. Oh no, wait, that is actually bad enough. It's like the thing about it is that when you hit him in his first form, he will spin around and like really spin if you shoot it, so that when it fires its lasers, it's almost impossible to dodge them. Then you hit them there, and then he goes up a shaft and tries to hit you with a floating helicopter blade, and then it tries to roll down into you and then shoot these lasers at whatever angle it is that it lands at. And that's another thing. If you're unlucky in that phase, then it's really hard to avoid the bouncing lasers it shoots. But that's like final phase where it like fires out lightning as it like bounces like a tether when you shoot it. It's just really tedious because you have to stop firing whenever it shoots the lightning and rotates. I mean, maybe you don't have to stop, but I would absolutely recommend it. And like this final form, this feels like it takes so fucking long to finally kill, and then you have to like stop shooting it when it's doing the lightning rotating thingy. It is, if not the hardest boss in the game, it is easily the most tedious by a country mile.
You are
None of
not
the
kidding.
final boss. What's that?
You are not kidding.
Yet none of the final bosses take this much punishment, as if I remember correctly. Like, the only boss I think that might even take somewhat as long is the Getter Robo ripoff that you fight on the best path, but, at least that one varies its assault up better. At least I think that one's somewhat cool, and even if it is really difficult, I don't think it takes as long, but the long hand guy just sucks. It takes at least 5 minutes minimum to beat the damn thing, and it has these auto-scrolling bits that just drag it out, and it's just...
I remember
It's...
first time I ever got to him and I'm fighting him. And it's just going on and on and on, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ, this ever end?
Yeah,
This is the dumbest boss.
If you're going to have a marathon boss, I would recommend making that the final boss. Making that for a boss 2/3 of the way into the game just makes me wonder why the final boss doesn't take this long. Although, Sarb, you are right, the alien boss in Big Magnum do take a bit of effort. Funny enough, I actually think that the final boss you fight on the best path is the easiest, as long as you're good at sliding, which, if you do want to get far in the game, I think you do have to master. But the other three do take a fair deal of effort, and it's not like, the big purple fucking freaky thing is a total zero effort. It's just, I think the other bosses are a lot more varied as far as irony is concerned, but yes.
Now, I'm trying to recall one thing here.
What's up?
If you don't take the path where you have to fight Deadeye Joe, isn't he inside that thing when you get to it?
He is, yes. The only thing that changes is that during some of the segments where it chases you, he fires a few homing missiles every now and again, which makes the fight a little bit more annoying, but not too much worse than just how the rest of the fight is, in my opinion. At least those missiles are destructible. It is an extra little X factor that technically makes it a little bit harder if you're going for one of the better endings.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, the fight is just I'm okay with a fight being difficult, and this one can be hard. And I don't necessarily mind a fight being long if it does at least something to justify that length. Long Hand Guy, silly name as it is, it just feels like it's just deliberately wasting my time, and that is not a feeling that I like to have in a game like Contra. And I love hardcore for the most part. It is, in fact, my second favorite game of the series, which is an opinion that Rob absolutely does not agree with, but I do respect that.
Yeah. Well, you're entitled to like it if you want. I like it, but I'm not that big of a fan. I much prefer, the original, the NES games and Contra 3.
Yeah. That does remind me. I almost consider bringing up that metal motherfucker who's the boss you fight in the middle of Stage 3 in Contra 3, the transforming metal douchebag. The one that you have to fight on the wall who then tries to spike you, and if you're playing on hard mode, it slides like a lot looser, and it's really fucking hard to avoid. That boss bastard can be a run killer on hard if I'm not feeling it that day. But that boss, while it does take a while to defeat, it's still not as bad in tedium terms as Long Hand Guy is. And I think that the worst thing a boss can be, if not difficult, if not extremely difficult, is tedious. Again, that feeling that, like, why am I here? You're wasting my fucking time. Can we just get this over with already? That is not a feeling I want to have with a boss.
So. No. And speaking of getting this over with already, yeah, we're done.
Wow, a transition right to the ending.
Yeah, exactly. So, you were saying?
I just got a bit of a cough still. I don't know. I've been rambling for too long. I've had to refill this water bottle, and it's still out, and I feel like I really need to rest my goddamn vocals already. So, yeah, let's call it.
Yeah, so that said, we do still have some other stuff coming up. I know our streaming has been, despite me wanting to do it every other week at least, it's been a bit spotty. But, things happen. Mm-hmm. So, we do have some actual roundtables planned that will hopefully be getting off the ground sooner or later. Some more Dyer's Place. And, of course, the books are still coming. In fact, we're almost into the home stretch at this point. It's just a matter of deciding on tiers for the Kickstarter, finalizing that, and so I'd say within the next month you will actually see that. So I hope you're all looking forward to that. Mm-hmm. And other than that, though, just going to keep doing what I've been doing this whole time. So we'll see if we end up streaming more often or less often or what. But the ones we do planned for actual roundtables, there's some good ones. And you'll might have some other surprises coming along soon. There you go. So, that said, we're going to call it a night. So,
my throat's going to call it. I'm going to drink a lot of fucking water before I pass out.
Exactly. So, everybody, Thanks for joining us, and remember, have a fun.
Enjoy.